and welcome to a new episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Ben Hansen, joined by Brian Shea.
Hey, everyone.
Matt Miller.
Hello.
Oh, what an angel. And then Dan Tack.
I hear we got a really big show lined up this week.
I don't know what that attitude is. Last week, we only covered a couple topics, but we dove in deep. We're in like Mariana's Trench when it comes to talking about the different meeting rooms within Game Freak, which I loved. I loved the good feedback about it. People either loved it or hated it. Same with Call of Duty. This episode, we are covering everything. We're just henpecking around
All
to
of
games
the
to games
things.
to games. Absolutely. We're talking about Sonic Mania with Brian Shea, Starcraft Remastered. What a great time. Talking about that with Dan Tack, then covering Agents of Mayhem, hopefully some Hellblade talk, Observer, maybe a couple other games that JV's excited about. In theory, we're going to talk about Uncharted Lost Legacy. Depends on scheduling, but in theory, that's coming up quick. Then we have some great emails. And then back half of the show, we're joined by our outgoing, wonderful group of interns.
Ooh.
Just the heroes of the people. We have Doug, Jared, and Craig that come in here to talk about what it's like to have an internship at Game Informer, what they're proud of, what they learned along the way.
They did great.
They did a great job, didn't they?
They
They're awesome.
I try to kiss their ass enough. They really were a great group of guys. And so we also played Back of the Box Trivia. But
That's a lucky way to send them off.
isn't it fun?
That's good stuff.
Yeah,
Was there a super winner?
there was.
Ooh.
But I might not tip my hand as to who it
That's fine.
was.
That's fine.
But it's only modern games. Current gen games is
Okay.
the twist for this Back of the Box.
Right,
So stay
right.
tuned to the back half of the show for that whole thing.
Oh, man.
How would you do with that, Dan?
I'm trying to guess who it is now, like who the big winner was, just based on what I know off them.
Well, there we
That's,
go. Stay tuned.
right.
But for now, Brian Shea,
Mhm.
Sonic Mania. Let me tell you
Mhm.
my perspective on your review of Sonic Mania.
Okay.
You've been labeled
wait.
Sonic Defender #1 for a long time in this office. You've gotten more for just happening to like a franchise than most people ever encounter in their lives. Then there's this shining beacon on the hill, and it's Sonic Mania, and everyone's like, oh, God, if this isn't good, that's it. This is not the nail in the coffin. This is like sinking Sonic to the bottom of the ocean, like a Metatron or whatever his name is. And so Sonic Mania is released. Metatron? I don't know. Brian Shea, what do you think of Sonic Mania?
I think it is a worthy successor to the Genesis games that everybody already loved. I think that it basically this team of indie developers who got the blessing from Sega to go ahead and make a Genesis game for the modern consoles. And so they they rebuilt the engine from scratch. Christian Whitehead, who ported all the old games over to like Xbox 360 and iOS.
Yeah.
He is the guy. He actually rebuilt the engine from scratch and like recreated all like the physics and like how the momentum builds and everything. And he recreated it super faithfully.
It's absurd.
It feels like you're playing like Sonic 3.
I'm fascinated by this game's development history. I'd love to talk to them at some point in the future because it's just insane the idea that Sega and Sonic Team would allow. He's an American guy?
Australian.
Okay, to allow this Australian bloke, like, hey, here, make a new Sonic game that's exactly the old style. And it seems like fan reaction is like, this is just the cream dream thrill of a lifetime, everything that Sonic fans have ever wanted. Does it nail it that well?
Yeah, I mean, it's super faithful to the Genesis games in both like look and gameplay. And it's also like they did like 60% remade levels, but they didn't they have Chemical Plant Zone and Green Hill Zone from the classic games. But like they remade them. So like it's not like you're playing through the same games. It's just like familiar backdrops
Remixed,
with elements.
you mean, right?
Well, the first act is like super like, all right, well, this is the Green Hill Zone I remember, but it just has some new paths. But then the second act always kind of like mixes it up a little bit more with like new elements. Like Chemical Plant Zone Act 2 adds like new gels that you can like bounce off higher and like
It's odd.
get stuck on walls.
Yeah.
So it seems like they take a little bit more liberty with the second act. It's not like Sonic Generations where they're just like, all right, we're going to try to recreate this in this new engine and hope people like it. Like I liked Sonic Generations, but I think this is a better celebration of Sonic's past than
Is
that
there a
was.
universe? I've seen some buzz on Twitter and just I've played like the first 2 zones. I guess I started the 3rd zone. And for me, it's like, this just feels like the best 2D Sonic game that's ever been made. Is there a world where people can make that argument that this is better than any of those old Sonic games?
I think that, I mean, there's an argument for it because like, you have like the updated elements and stages, like I just mentioned. You have new moves for the characters. You have better bonus stages. You have a return of the blue sphere stages from Sonic 3 that like, it's like 32 new stages from that. And it's just like they've learned a lot about the like how to make levels over the course of the years. Like this is like the ultimate fan-made game if you think about it, because it's just a bunch of indie developers that love the franchise that Sega actually gave the blessing to make this game.
It's the feel-good gaming story, not only of the year, but of the last 20 years of Sonic misery. Like, this is it. Like, this is what fans have been demanding. They need to check it off the list and appreciate what a miracle it is this thing was released, right?
Yeah, and I think that it would be nice. My biggest criticism is that they didn't focus on the new enough. Because, like, it's like I said, it's like probably 60-40 remade stages, and then like that 40% is all new zones. So I wish they would have focused a little heavier on that. And also, the bonus stages are just kind of like a faithful recreation of the Blue Sphere stages from Sonic 3. But yeah, like the new stuff they added is super cool. I just wish there was more of it.
There is, I'm not going to reveal what it is, but there is a moment in one of the early boss fights. It's one of my favorite moments of the year so far.
It's super cool. I know which one you're talking about.
What are they doing? No way. They actually did this whole like crazy fan service, deep cut fan service where it shakes things up in a really unexpected way.
And there are so many moments like that. Like as you go through the game, there's all these like subtle and not so subtle nods to like both Sonic and Sega's past.
Yeah.
And I love it. Like there's cameos of characters you were like, oh yeah, that guy. Like I never thought I'd see that guy again.
What a thrill. Here's a theory I have for you, and I want you guys to weigh in, Dan and Miller as well. So the first two stages, beloved levels coming back, right? Green Hill and Chemical Plant.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a world where those aren't actually the best designed Sonic stages from the past, but they just had the best music from the original Sonic games, so people have a great memory of them because of the great soundtracks, and that's why they've been brought back alive?
Chemical Plant, I think so. But I mean, there's so much better music in
Then Green Hill Zone?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
like that's the iconic one because that's the first level everybody played. That's the one that people played the most in the first game.
Yeah.
But like, even in Sonic Mania itself, like Flying Battery has a great soundtrack. Sky Sanctuary has a great sound, or a great
Maybe it's
song.
just familiarity. You're right.
I think it is familiarity that makes Green Hill Zone so like recognizable and beloved.
Is there anything in this game that you said whoa to, that you were really impressed by, where you played and it's like, oh, this, I never appreciated this about the Sonic formula. They really added something really new and big to the ingredients here.
I think they really just went for it with like the branching paths. Like there are so many different ways you can go through each and every level. Like, even just like, all right, I'm Sonic and now I hit the platform before it fell, and now that means I can jump up to this higher platform and there might be like an extra life up there, and then it's a different path that you can go. So it's almost like you're attacking a whole different stage if like you figure out like a new route to go. Or, if you're Knuckles and you're able to climb up walls and glide across the level, you can now find a new path that way because, Sonic doesn't have that ability.
Yeah. Hey, Miller, here's my experience with this game. I started it and said, my God, it looks like they really did it. I appreciated Sonic as a kid, but I was a very stupid kid. Playing this, I said, my God, they've done it. I'm so happy for everyone that loves Sonic and has been screaming for so many years they want that nostalgic experience. But at the same time, I don't really know where to go. Sometimes I go fast and then I die, and then I'm trying to navigate my way through these levels. I don't know if I'm having a great time actually playing it, but I appreciate the hell out of it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not here. I'm not going to be like a wet blanket on this. I totally get the enthusiasm for people who are Sonic fans, lifelong Sonic fans. I'm going to be honest. While I don't hate on it or anything, I think it would be fair to say I'm one of the people in the office who does not give you a hard time about this.
You
right?
are not.
I think it's great that people like this little blue guy and that he runs really fast.
He's a hedgehog.
I've never gotten it. Like I was like a SNES guy. I wasn't a Genesis guy, so I don't have that like built-in nostalgia core thing. And I got Sonic Mania because there's all this enthusiasm. I mean, this thing's like racking up some high scores from people, right?
Yeah.
Including Brian. And I'm like, I should give this a shot. Like people are really hot on this, and I don't get it. And so I'm saying like I think I can speak to the people out there who share my sense of it. This is not going to be the game. I think I can safely say that I've never gotten it, but finally I get Sonic. And now that I've played Sonic Mania, this is it. I don't think I just want to like temper back. I mean, there's every reason in the world that Brian and the other people who are big Sonic fans should love this game and should like rate it highly, because there is, you can't divorce one's own personal experience and memories and nostalgia from how you look at a game, right? Like,
but you're saying objectively it's just a bad game.
I'm not saying objectively it's bad, but rather that like it's just without that, I don't know that it does what it needs to do.
Well, here's the thing, Brian, convince us. What is it about Sonic level design, maybe specific to Sonic Mania, that you feel makes it stand apart from other platformers? What do we need to see to let us love it like you do?
Well, I touched on one of the big things was the branching paths, like the way it kind of encourages you to explore levels in different ways and find new ways to like go through the same area multiple times. Like I think that's a super big part of it. So
just the complexity of 2D platforming levels, that's the appeal here?
That's one of the things. I also think that like, kind of the contrast of like, speed, and then like there's also those moments of precision platforming, and like then there's like when those two elements come together, and like, all right, you got to go through this, but you have to go like at a certain speed or else the platform disappears. And like timing, stuff like that. And, just I think that is what it's big for me, is it differentiates itself from a game like Super Mario World. Like when I was growing up, it was, all right, I have Sonic 2 and I have Super Mario World. I love both of these games a lot. And but probably at the end of the day, I like Super Mario World better because it's a better game, I would say. But like I really loved Sonic 2 also, and it broke up the platforming of Mario with like, you can go like super fast through here, you can explore a little bit more than you can in a Mario game, although Mario World had a ton of exploration as well.
Right.
But yeah, I think that the kind of like the speed and precision that was required, it was a different break from like all the super like methodical and precise platforming that you have to do in like a Mario game.
Get this precision out of here. Let's flail around with colors for a while.
Can I ask you a question? Like
Sure.
a straight up honest question that's going to make anybody who's like a Sonic fan totally like scoff at me and be like, he's such an idiot.
Tails is a boy.
And it's miles per hour.
Yeah, miles per hour.
Okay. Why is it I feel like I'm always going either too fast or too slow. Like I'm either going so fast that I don't have any sense of what's happening. I'm just like holding the right and every once in a while like pressing jump.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm like going like the whole like momentum thing. I'm like running into stuff, and then like any sense of like speed or enthusiasm I had is just immediately sapped. When I like hit a wall, I'm like, okay, well now I'm stuck in this pit. I guess I got to run back like 200 yards to get my speed up, and then like start going again.
200 Sonic yards.
You know what I'm asking?
Yeah, and I mean that is a fair criticism, especially like with it being so momentum based. Like you said, like that's the thing that people really didn't like about Sonic 4, which was their attempt to do a retro game. I think for the first time.
Yeah,
it's just the momentum was garbage. Like you could like casually stroll up a 90-degree wall, and like they got rid of that obviously because people hate it. But with like the classic Sonic games and Sonic Mania, like the momentum is a huge part of that. But that is a fair criticism. Like, I think in Sonic Mania, they did a good job of balancing, like, because in the classic Sonic games, it was like, all right, I'm running along, I'm doing great. And then all of a sudden you hit a spring or like a thing of spikes, and it you lose your rings or you go flying backwards. Whereas with Sonic Mania,
that infuriates me.
Yeah. Sonic Mania, I think they did a better job of balancing.
Are you just delighted by my frustration?
No, I have the exact same frustrations. I want to appreciate the series, and it makes me so happy that fans are loving it. I just don't really see the appeal of minute-to-minute gameplay.
I am in the exact same camp. I really am not. I'm not like, oh, this is terrible. I totally get it. You guys love this thing, and I'm more power to you. There's certainly some games out there that I love that everybody else thinks are just total garbage.
And the opposite with Amplitude, where some of us love it dearly, and you're not a fan.
Yeah. So I'm all for it. I want to understand, and I just don't. I think I've tried a few times over the years to do what I did with Sonic Mania and go back and like play the old ones, and I'll play it for a little while, and I'm like, I don't get it.
Well, Shay, what's wrong with this game? Why only an 8.5? What held it back from being your perfect 10?
My perfect 10. Well, I mean, for one thing, you can't just say, all right, we start at 10 and take away every time there's something wrong. Oh, there's another 0.5 gone.
Right, but when did it hit the spikes and the rings of points flew out from Sonic?
Well, like I said, like it doesn't focus enough on the new stuff. Some of the systems in place are a little antiquated. I mean, we're pulling from like 24, 23-year-old games. So like the save system is kind of a little bit of an irking thing. I get all the way to a boss and I die and I run out of lives, I have to start over that entire zone. So it's like I'm at the end of Act 2 fighting the boss of the zone, and I'm all the way back to the beginning of Act 1. I mean, it's not a game breaker or anything. That's how the original games worked. But that's like I said, 23 years,
to a different place.
But for what they were trying to do, that's exactly what they were trying to replicate. Was this old experience, know? And they were, in that regard, they were extremely successful.
It's so amazing because I'm the kind of nerd that's into this stuff. When I got to the main menu, I immediately went to the credits.
Mm-hmm.
And the design team and the art team on this game is like 4 people, 5 people. And then it's just pages and pages of Sega legal and all this nonsense. But like just the idea of that core outside of Sonic team delivering this experience that is, in theory, making so many Sonic fans finally content. They can finally all die at peace now because they have their 2D Sonic. It's amazing.
I mean, Sonic Team did have a kind of an outside role in making this game. Like they I think they consulted with the developers along the way, and like they'd be like, "Yes, this."
I really wonder though. I wonder how much of that was just like trying to make that connection in the name of like, this is a thing that clearly fans really want, and we want to show that Sonic Team was involved, and how much it actually was. Just those 4 guys.
Good question. Yeah, I'd love to talk to Christian Whitehead and those guys.
Yeah, he's a super cool guy. I met him at San Diego Comic-Con.
You promise he's a cool guy?
No, really, super cool.
Okay.
Is what I said.
Super
cool.
Don't misquote me here.
Well, there we go. Sonic Mania.
And yeah, I liked it a lot. I gave it an 8.5.
There we go. Speaking of crazy fan service, Dan Tack.
Yeah, what's up?
Are you awake? How you doing, buddy?
I got to go fast.
Okay, good
What's
stuff. Starcraft Remastered.
Yeah, that's a game.
Amazing fan service.
Remember Starcraft?
Do you all remember Starcraft 1, a little game called Brood War?
Absolutely.
Miller, are you seem like the campaign type of guy
when
it
absolutely.
comes to Starcraft. More so
I
than
would always
multiplayer.
try to play the multiplayer, but I was never all that great at it.
Yeah, no one ever is.
Yeah, well, it's a high bar, right? I mean, like, you either need to devote your life to StarCraft multiplayer or, you're not good at it.
Here's the middle ground, Miller, that I really recommend.
Yeah.
Only play with good old friends on a couple of beers.
No,
then StarCraft is amazing.
That's how I used to play a lot of multiplayer.
Okay.
Was just playing with friends. I don't know that they ever managed to really, despite some really fervent efforts in the more recent entries, I'm not sure they ever really got me in with great enthusiasm into the multiplayer ranked stuff.
Right.
I mean, I would always try it and enjoyed experimenting with it, but it never really hooked me.
It's an amazing effort, reviving this old game and giving it a fresh new coat of paint, which, like all remasters, you play it for a little bit and it's like, this looks like basically what it did before, didn't it? And then you can turn off the HD graphics and then want to vomit. Right. There's still charm in those, in the pixel sprites and whatnot, but jumping back into the HD version, it's amazing how quickly it becomes just like, well, this is how it always looked. Dan, what do you think about the remaster and this whole effort?
I was like, do I have the fork? Do I have this remastered version on? Is this? Are you sure? And then I did what you did and be like, turn it off. And I'm like, oh my god, this is what I thought was top notch.
That's kind of how I felt about Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary.
As a side note, I think that phenomenon is one of the most unusual things about gaming. The way that your memory fills in gaps and convinces you that a thing you played in 1996 or even 2006 was different than what it really was,
right?
And you can go back and just be like, oh man, this does not work as well as it used to. It doesn't look as good. It doesn't.
Well, this is what I want to talk to you, Dan, about. Outside of visuals, what is it like to go back to the gameplay of StarCraft 1? What stands out? That was like playing the game.
That was honestly just like riding a bike, man. Like,
it was shocking.
The fundamentals are still there. They've been dormant for so many years, but
although Dan,
I still knew how to put a carrier rush together. That's
Dan, we did a 1v1 and Dan pulled a real bullshit move of going carrier rush, the noble entry.
Okay, and of course, he was the paragon of integrity by trying a Dark Templar rush, which is, come on.
Well, please. That's a cool guy rush. I mean,
that's far more insidious.
Yeah, I tried going the completely stealth route. I'm like, he's not going to remember to make an observer. He's going to be totally effed. And so I made it like Dark Templar army, and then was like, oh no, he's completely on top of it. I think like your cannons took him out pretty quickly.
Cannons took care of it. I had cannons all over the map because I didn't make any. You're right. I don't like to make observers unless I absolutely have to. So. I skipped the robotics facility completely, except I had to do it for transport, obviously, since you picked that map whatever.
There's one other river crossing. For the
Right.
record, Dan did beat me. There was a moment there where we were like clashing with zealots because we both play Protoss apparently.
The beginning clash was like one zealot versus one zealot, and then 3 zealots versus 3 zealots.
Yeah.
The classic clashes, right? So and
It
then
was a real clash of clans.
then he went Dark Templars, and I went Carriers.
And then it turns out I forgot the old Brood War maxim of nothing beats carriers.
Nothing
Jesus
does-
Christ!
It's true. Nothing beats Carrier. I mean, you could have made Templars, right? They could have taken care of it. With
Yeah,
with the
exactly.
lightning.
Yeah, with the Psy,
Yeah.
which I then did in another game that I played last night. But God, those were. And then the game ended with I was just like, all right, this is all I can do. And I just made a field, just like lined this entire radius with cannons, and then brought all my probes into the middle. I was like, Dan,
We're
come
talking
get
like-
me.
We're talking 40 plus cannons here. And
So
like,
pretty much just like a holding action, like you're not gonna win.
No, I had given up so long ago. I just wanted to annoy him. And so then he would run in, all his interceptors from the carriers would die, then he'd pull back out,
To make
wait for them
more.
to come back,
Yep.
and then go back in.
because
But
Carriers have a huge edge on cannons, but yes, it does take some time to chew through that field.
it really does, yeah. And I forgot about just using the Templars. That totally would have been the way to go. But it's amazing
Yes.
playing a fair amount of StarCraft 2 and then going back to this one and just the little things that stand out. There's so many ease of use touches that StarCraft 2 added. Just adding like waypoints directly to the crystals,
Sure.
or even just hotkey mapping. It's so bizarre to go back to like because StarCraft 2, one of the most brilliant subtle things it did is it kind of went for an ergonomic approach to hotkeys, so you can do everything around WASD.
Yep.
And now going back to Brood War, it's like,
You're clicking on
to build a
everything.
pylon or a probe, I gotta go B and then all the way over
Right.
to P. Like my hands all over the place.
Did they change anything with like the old pathing stuff?
Oh, no.
It's the exact same game. It just looks better.
It is
Okay.
literally the exact same game, like including like the old menus from
Yeah.
multiplayer. They added a couple tweaks, but I don't know if that was when they made StarCraft the original free, which was a couple months ago.
I think that's probably because when I got on there were all still kinds of like custom maps and everything going on. Like
yeah, it's
I was
still
playing
big
with
game
the
hunters
regular-
up the
Are
butt.
you obligated to play with like the Brood War stuff on? Can you turn?
you can pick
turn it off?
you can pick Brood War on or Brood War off.
That's cool.
Yeah,
and of
yeah.
course you got to play with Brood War on.
Yeah,
Like,
I can't imagine the
That
weird of it
game
would.
just hit such a sweet spot with like the simplicity and complexity aspects. Like you look at some RTS now, like a modern RTS has like 50 million upgrades for each unit that you can take in 20 different directions. It's just like, this is a Dragoon. You can upgrade its damage or you can upgrade its armor.
Well, do you think there's an appeal
That's
for
I mean, there's a little bit more, but yeah.
if someone was trying to get an RTSs now?
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever recommend they get StarCraft Remastered versus StarCraft 2?
StarCraft. I think StarCraft 2, StarCraft 2, like I was originally upset. Like the original StarCraft 2 reveal kind of stuff, I was upset it was too much alike.
Yeah.
I think a lot of other people were too. Some anyway. But no, I think StarCraft 2 is probably the one to get into right now. If you're like, I have never played an RTS, I want to play an RTS, just because of quality of life improvements and stuff like that over the years. But if as more of a research lesson into what was the shining pinnacle of all RTS at that time, StarCraft
It was
1 is
just
still
dominant for so long.
And there's a reason. And also,
people
like,
still play that.
I
Brood
know.
War is still played.
and I want to downplay its
Wild.
complexity. Like, I really think it's a relatively simple game, especially if you just pick
it's
one race and just focus on that. It's
Mhm.
really not bad.
It's a complex game, but not at the level where you have to be, where you can easily just say a Dragoon costs this much resource,
Yeah.
and there are 2 resources. Okay, I get
Right.
that. I don't have to juggle 10 resources, but like how you play them and like how you micromanage your units. Like if I play this Dragoon Rog and I just walk him down and the enemy can put him up a cliff and down a cliff and up a cliff and down a cliff, and I'll never even fire a shot by
Mhm.
abusing his pathing. There's stuff like that, or like how to expo, right? Like we both had like 3 expos that game. We're playing in a ridiculous amount of resources, but like that's a great way. You can beat any new player just by making an expansion while they focus on their main base, and then they're like,
Yeah.
I'm out of minerals again. That's a complex thing that isn't on the surface, but you have to like plan for as you get to know the game better.
Yeah.
So mechanically, you just have to know a zealot hits things in melee, a dragoon shoots things at range,
Right.
and carriers eat everything.
And Zergs are freaks that you'll never understand because their ways are impenetrable.
Their
to
ways
mortal
are,
men.
yeah, you can just do the old Zerg rush, man. It's still there. If you don't know what you're doing, just make those Zerglings and send them out. You either win or lose the game in the first minutes.
Oh, God. Mutalists are just horrible to
Mut-
fight.
Mutalisk
I
Rush-
hate them.
Needless Rush is my favorite Zerg opening.
Of
Actually,
course.
to go
Yeah.
right behind the pick.
Dan pulled this move where he said, I don't even remember what my main race was back in the day. I'm too
I
cool.
I told you it was Zerg.
You said you didn't remember. And then you said maybe
At first, I
Zerg.
didn't. I wasn't trying to pull one over on
No,
you.
I don't know about that.
I really didn't remember.
Then why'd you fight me with Protoss?
The
I felt like
Protoss,
playing Protoss.
the Protoss, back when the game first came out, were so cool. Though, you know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
sure.
They were just
they're the most mysterious storyline.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
you
was
gotta
awesome.
you gotta love them.
That's
Just
right.
for the single player stuff, They didn't redo the cutscenes,
Okay.
which can be a bummer, but that would have been expensive.
Yeah.
But the pixel art and the redrawn, environments for multiplayer and stuff, it's really well done. There's little things really if you want to be nitpicky, like I think the Nexus for the Protoss, a little too glowy, a little too shimmery, little things like that. But outside of that, like you snap into it and it's worth the $20 just to have a good looking version of this classic game.
And the regular version is free, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you can play with people who have the remastered version.
Right.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
It's fan service city, you guys.
It really is, and I think it's cool that they're, Blizzard has been great about that, supporting ancient products. Like I think Diablo 2 still got a patch like a couple months ago.
And they just set up a public test realm for Warcraft 3. Wink, wink. I wonder what's coming, everybody.
Yeah. Now, would I go back to play that? It's different than StarCraft. It's an interesting concept.
Would you?
Probably not. Like I played that pretty hardcore for the first couple years after it came out, with the Frozen Throne or whatever the expansion was and everything. But then I only played it for custom games, which I think is what a lot of people did. Like I just moved into playing Dota and the rest of those games.
Speaking of which,
War 3.
in StarCraft, I tried finding like Aeons of Strife, like the origins of the Dota genre. I couldn't find one rolling.
It'll be difficult to find one rolling because despite many people having and playing the game, finding that custom map up at any given time is tough. But I did find one open the other day, and you can still play that map.
That's historically really interesting to go back to. I want to go back and play it at some point.
We should actually do that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining me to talk about these crazy fan service projects from Sega and Blizzard, those little upstarts. But you guys want to all clap out of here on the count of 3?
We'll do it.
All right, go for it.
1, 2, 3.
Hey, welcome, guys.
Wow. Hello.
Full crew swap. We have Joe Juba.
That's me.
We have Andrew Reiner.
Hello.
And Andy McNamara.
Hello.
A mysterious figure.
I am
emerges.
mysterious.
What have you been doing?
The usual stuff, secret stuff.
What is that? What is your life like? What is your job like?
It's usually when people ask me what I do, I say I professionally complain.
On the phone, in person?
All those things.
Okay.
Right? I mean, you work with me, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you do something and you're like, this is good. And then I go, eh.
He's a multifaceted complainer.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's kind of what I do. I mean, it really is. If you boil it down, ultimately, I just complain.
Well, I cannot wait to hear you complain about Uncharted Lost Legacy, Naughty Dog's latest game. That, Joe, you're still going through. Reiner and Andy, you finished it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So no spoilers, please. I'm only like on chapter 5 or something like
we
that.
Wouldn't do that. We wouldn't do that.
What do you guys think? What a weird release from Naughty Dog.
I mean, I personally, when they first announced it, I was like, oh, okay, like expansion pack. And it slowly moved from like, just kept moving away from us. Like, oh, it's not an expansion pack. Oh, it's going to be a standalone game. And it's like kind of this. And I always kind of walking into it was like, okay, what is this? I don't know entirely what this is. And now having sat down and played it, I mean, it's a Naughty Dog game. And
full stop.
Full stop. Yeah. I mean, I think it is impressive, and it brings up things like, wow, I wish they could release these for all these games, like all their games, like every couple of years.
Like if Left Behind was just like 10 hours long. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's and that's the interesting thing about it too, is that number one, there's no loss of like Naughty Dog fidelity, right? Like the game is gorgeous, right? And there's still level after level. You're like, man, that was an amazing level. I couldn't believe it. Well, geez, okay, that's even more impressive. Like, I mean, and it's always the little touches, rain on the windows, overgrowth on statues, the scale, just the wonder of the things that you find,
and the character performances too.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the next step would be like, and then once again, I think the storytelling was done very, very well. I mean, truthfully, Naughty Dog, in my opinion, I feel like, I know we've talked about this before. I kind of hate movies. And I think
that's a broad statement.
You hate actors.
Yeah, they all suck.
So I know it's a broad movie, and I do like movies, but it's just like it has to be a really good movie for me to like it, right? Like really great movies I love, but most movies I'm like, that's kind of dumb, right? I really, just because they're not interactive, I like video games way more, so I definitely am biased in this discussion.
Yeah.
But I feel like Naughty Dog's games compete with, I mean, maybe not the tip of the top movies, but I mean, I feel like they beat 80-90% of the movies out there as
just
far as
storytelling level,
just
experience.
Storytelling level and acting level. I mean, I think Laura Bailey and
Claudia Black
like kill it. Like they are great. They are fantastic in this, and the motion capture in it is amazing. There's a lot of stuff kind of told through facial reactions, things like that are all done in game, all spectacular. I mean, the gameplay, early Uncharted, I could definitely make fun of the shooting but I really feel like it's coming to its own over time. It has that kind of, it's never entirely perfect, right? Do you know what I mean? I think it's kind of intentionally unperfect.
And this
The last
plays almost identically to just
Yes.
Uncharted 4, right? There's not some twist coming up later that I haven't experienced yet in terms of
No.
gameplay.
All the same mechanics.
All the same mechanics. I mean, I think the only thing that is different, and I said this is not a spoiler, but that they have a level that is open, that is bigger than any other level they've done, and it gives you a chance to. I mean, it's still a linear game, but you can go there, you can go there, you can go there, and inside this, like you can go there. There's a bunch of hidden stuff, like treasures that you can find. I mean, once again, some people go like the treasures they don't mean anything. Sure.
Yeah.
But there's treasures in those places that have people guarding them, and they have little puzzles to get to them.
Joe, I'd love to hear your take on this. You're a big open world guy because I experienced that and I drove around. It's like, this looks great.
Mhm.
It's a cool way to show off their tech, maybe push their tech for the future of Naughty Dog. Who knows? But then ultimately, I was like, well, what's the point? Where's the next story beat? Oh, it's in this place? Okay, I'm just going to go there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not open world in the sense that we think of open world games.
No, it's just
of,
one
like,
open area.
having mission. Yeah, it's just a large area that you get to explore. But I mean, I think that's actually great for Uncharted because like it's a series that, for as wide open as they can like make it look sometimes, it's still very much a sort of corridor experience. I mean, they've been moving away from that in recent entries, but I think that's largely what you're signing up for with Uncharted. And I liked their experimenting with that, with the sort of larger world part of it. Yeah.
Reminded me of the same sequence from 4. Was it Africa where you got into
Madagascar,
Jeep?
yeah.
Yeah, Madagascar. But as Andy said, there's maybe more points of story interest that you can go to, but Madagascar is wide open where you're finding treasures, little things off the beaten path too.
Yeah.
Do you think it's the most interesting part of Lost Legacy is just them experimenting with that more wide structure?
No, I think I really feel like when I finished this game, and the first thing that came to my mind is I absolutely adored Nathan Drake, and I thought he was funny, and I really enjoyed Uncharted with him in it. And I finished this game, and I said he could never come back. They could stick with new characters in the same formula, and it could be those two, it could be other people, but as long as the production value and everything is where it is, like I'm in. Right, it doesn't have to be Nathan for it to be as enjoyable as I found this game.
Do you think you just love Naughty Dog experiences and that level of craftsmanship, or do you love specifically the Uncharted formula?
I mean, Reiner focuses on this in his review.
Okay.
It's just the idea that that Uncharted isn't necessarily dead as an experience just because the character that we've associated with it for so long is. So I don't know. I guess Reiner could say it
one
better than I
thing
can,
I'll say, Joe cut this from my review just minutes ago, where I talk about Indiana Jones is very much, that's his identity, right? Like he is that franchise. And to a degree, Lara Croft is Tomb Raider, right? Like I think you can't put someone else there, but what you find here after playing this game, you have that question looming over you as you go into it, like how is it going to be without Nathan Drake? It turns out the heart of this game is the adventure itself. And you realize that as you're going along, like, you could throw, like Andy just said, anyone into that. Naughty Dog nurtures those characters just as much as Drake, but gives you something different. But that heart of the adventure is still the same, right? Like it does feel like another level almost, or another area that you're going into with similar conventions at play, but with wildly different personalities.
You got MacGuffins, you got quips. That's basically the formula.
That's totally the formula. I mean, and I laugh, and I still laugh at. I mean, I laughed many times the way the characters interact. I think they do interacting characters better than anyone, really. I mean, as far as like just kind of, wrapping around with little inside jabs and jokes, and just kind of like the relationship that forms between those characters, and that's fun. Do you know what I mean? And it's fun to watch them. But also too, I mean, I thought they were both. I mean, I remember them from the other games, you know what I mean? But I never really, I never really concentrated a whole lot on them. And then when you get this glimpse into who they are and where they're going and what they're all about, I found them fascinating. I mean, I really liked. I thought they were hands down the stars of this game. But as Reiner said, they're the stars because they fit in the formula, and that formula is fun.
Right,
is climbing on things quickly, shooting some dudes, like kind of
things fall apart below you.
Yeah. I mean, it does. You know what I mean? It's all the roller coaster ride. I like that roller coaster ride.
two things real quick. One,
Please.
so to answer directly your question before, I think the reason why this whole thing works is more tied to the identity of the Uncharted series itself than like a Naughty Dog adventure as a whole. That's part one.
Thank you.
Part two, I am not, I mean, I haven't finished the game like these guys have, right? But on the topic that was just being discussed, I am not totally blown away by these characters yet.
I am 100% with you. I don't know if it builds somewhere.
So what really makes it feel different is like other Uncharted games really ease you into the adventure. Like you already know Drake a little bit, and they sort of use that as a pillar to like rope in side characters and stuff along the way. But like I'm probably a good, I don't know, 3 to 4 hours into this game at this point, and it just feels like the game sort of said, "Hey, you're Chloe now. Nadine's with you for some reason. Go get the MacGuffin."
Yeah,
100%. I'm waiting for
you're
some sort
starting-
of reveal.
Well, you're starting this adventure midway through their heist, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like Uncharted 2, where you're dangling off a train, like almost dead. Like, it's like, what the hell's going on? This has a similar thing, but less peril attached to that, where you're just like, what is happening here?
But
and they kind of use that as for reveal moments, right? Like when everybody's seen the sequence where she gets up on the roof, and then there's
Right.
Nadine, right?
Even if they bring that around though and explain it eventually, at this point, like I think it just feels like bad pacing, and not in a way that like ruins the game for me, you know, but like in a way that makes it not as good as previous Uncharted.
I'm totally with you. Where I've been maybe like an hour and a half or something like that, and it's still, I just sat back and was like, what do these characters want here? Like, I understand they're after the tusk, but like I have no more sense of their personality or their personal goals or the storyline here.
I will say
I'm waiting
this.
for some big hits later on.
My review goes into all this, right?
Okay.
Like that, yes, early on, it is a little confusing exactly what the narrative thread is, like piecing that together. But once they lay all their cards on the table and you understand who they are and what their motivations are, it settles into an awesome groove.
Okay, I'm excited.
And there are some huge, really memorable moments that I don't want to even touch on.
Not
here.
set pieces, but character moments.
Character moments.
Oh, great.
Very, very specifically about these two characters that are, I mean, top of the tier Naughty Dog storytelling.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're supposed to be confused at the start.
But I
Do
mean,
you know
like,
what I
other
mean? Like-
other games that do that and like only leave you hanging for so long. You know, it's like, hey, you're at what's going on with this train? Do a brief introductory mission, and then we're going to start unpacking this
And understand personally where the characters are coming from at the start of their journey. Whereas this, it really just throws you in there quick.
Yes.
And then
and it goes on for a bit. That's what I said in my review. It goes on a little long, but they get there. They really do. It's very cool.
I mean, does it feel like too much to ask when you're? I mean, how long was this game for you guys, roughly?
7 to 8?
Yeah,
maybe?
I'd say 7 to 8. You know what I mean? Like, I think my game time was probably 7.5. But I mean, there was I died and did some other things, and I did some probably standing around at some point too.
Yeah. I guess it boils for me. It boils down to a question of like, if I'm like, let's say like I'm 3 hours into this game. That's a big chunk of that's a big percentage of the game to leave players sort of like, not, to me, it's not just curious. It's just sort of like uninvested in what's going on.
I will say this. I think you guys are overstating how confused you are by these.
It's not
You know the
complicated. It's just I
MacGuffin.
want to be more invested
You are
in what's
familiar
going
with
on.
the
I mean, it's
not
an adventure.
confusing.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like
No,
you
I
really,
understand
like-
that.
It's not confusing. It's a question of, for me, like I said, it's a question of investment. It's like,
Yes,
right.
before I felt like, wow, like Drake and his brother, I like that story with them, what's going on in the prison. I'm interested in that. I want to see how this relationship evolves. And that, like in these games, that's the like carrot that keeps me playing. And in this, that is just that sense is more diminished than it's been in previous games of like, wow, I like these characters a lot. I really want to know what's driving them here.
Yeah, one thing that's different here that I noticed as I was kind of breaking down the series is Uncharted 1 was very much, it's all about Drake and his family, right? The bond of family. First one was Drake and Sully. That's like a fatherly figure. The second one was with Elena, who's very much the love of his life. Third one is tough brotherly love, right? Like those are kind of
Fourth one.
or fourth one, yeah.
Third one's more with Elena, and then the fourth one's kind of a redoing of that Elena stuff.
But those three people in his life
Yeah.
are about that. This is very different. Like these are two contentious characters. Like they have differences between them. So the dynamic is very different. And you see that really take effect in the later stages of the game.
Okay, I'm very excited.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to. I'm going to keep playing. Like, you know, it sounds like I'm more down on it than I actually am feeling. I love this series, so it's like I'm I'm going to keep going.
I mean, early on, I felt like I just was it was an adventure game. I guess I just didn't maybe ask as many questions as you guys were, because I was like, okay, I want to know where this treasure is. What's this treasure all about? Who is this person? Why is this guy want to do what he wants to do? You know, kind of like I was, I think, looking at the broader questions. I think I became more invested in them, just as I think I approached it the same way. I was like, I don't know about you. You're not Nathan Drake, right? And kind of as time went on, I was like, hey, all right, you're cool. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I want to hang with you. You know what I mean? Like, as time went on, I think that was the kind of just getting to know them as you do through the game. I think you kind of, and also too, like, it's like anything, and this is not a spoiler, I don't think, but it's just like they're going to face hardships and you're going to overcome them, right? Because it's a video game, right? You know. But I mean, as you overcome things, you know what I mean. You travel alongside them, right? I mean, that's part of the story, is that you're a companion on this ride, and there's a camaraderie, I think, that comes from that you start to feel towards these characters as they go forward in their story, as you know, becomes more revealed, right?
Yeah.
So it's fun.
It's a high bar, but like Uncharted 4's fourth chapter, where you're walking through Nathan's home in the attic, and then eventually playing Crash Bandicoot on the couch. Like, that's one of my favorite chapters in any video game ever. So to like expect that level of emotional investment with these characters in the early stages is too much to ask. But I hope that it gets to something in that flavor.
That's also the fourth game. I mean, you knew everything you knew. The reason that level is good is because you had played 50 other hours.
I think if that was even your first Uncharted, you would still get a lot of the basic beats. Obviously, you'd have more if you played all of them, but I still think it would be resonant if that was your first.
I think you're also in Uncharted 4 specifically, you're also bringing with you a sort of, I mean, the game's called The Thief's End. It's bringing, there's a sense of finality in like almost everything you're doing in that game that I think just adds a level of weight that is hard to convey.
And they are purposely trying to flesh out that character as much as they can for that big send-off, right? To make that as impactful as possible. This is very much like, we've met these characters before, but this is kind of their first big adventure, right?
Well, I mean, without spoiling anything, what do you think it says about the future of Uncharted? Naughty Dog's been cagey about, like, we're never saying absolutely we're never making Uncharted again, but kind of, sort of, we're leaning towards wanting to make some new things. Do you think this opens the door for more smaller, like, adventures in the future?
It doesn't even have to be small. I would, if they made another Uncharted game with these characters or other characters, do you know what I mean? This sold me on I like Uncharted.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, this sold me on I like Uncharted. If Uncharted goes away, I'll be sad. And by the way, what I'm saying is that adventures that are fun, and they can do it. It doesn't have to be the exact same formula, right? You know, like we said, they could do more with an open world. They could do more with things, but I think those standard pillars are, for me, which is the great storytelling, the high production values, which to me has a value. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I'd love this game as much as if it was 8-bit art. Like, I'm sure it would be cool, but I mean,
fans will get to it very soon.
Yeah. You know, but I mean, I do like when I get to something and you're like, I mean, that's unbelievable. I stop in awe. I did it all the time in 4, and I did it all the time in this one, where I was like, oh no. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool looking. For a video game, for anything, I think there's a lot of beautiful things in this game. And if they keep those kind of things and they keep the adventure, because the adventure is fun. I mean, you go like, oh, I'm in a Jeep again. And then you're like, oh yeah, I'm in a Jeep again. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like that they're repeating things to me, but at the same time too, I find them pretty fun. Now, that said, if they do a Jeep and if they make a next car, I'll be a little bit like, okay, enough of the Jeep already.
But I mean, what if it was like a snowmobile, or you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, but it's the same basis for gameplay. Like, I think a problem video games have is always this need to innovate, right? And I think that kind of holds back. Well, I don't think video games need to continue to innovate in the space. Like, they have a perfect formula to play off of, just like the Ratchet and Clank games. Like, those stuck to their principles.
Be less innovative is your message to the video game industry?
To Naughty Dog.
Like, I don't know if I agree with that. But
no, what my point is, I don't think
you're saying the formula is good.
New mechanics every time for the need of sequels. I think you can just have new stories with your existing arsenal of toys to play with. I think that is something we see in video games all the time, where it's like they're always trying to do something radically different or add a new element, where all these pieces they have work very well.
If the advantage is it comes out in a year.
And this game is very much
to be a year. But I think James Bond's a good example. Like, there's a lot of James Bond movies.
Yeah.
They just announced a new James Bond, and you can go like, well, I know what happens in that one. You know what I mean? Like, and I probably do, right? But I like James Bond, and I like seeing the big set pieces. I like seeing the crazy stunts. I like seeing the crazy cars. Like those things that define a James Bond movie are the same things to me that I hung off a cliff. You know what I mean? Like you said, the floor dropped out from underneath me, but I didn't see it coming, right? But it was going to happen.
Yeah, it doesn't need to just be something radically different every time, or have all sorts of new elements. As long as you have the core principles there to make a great adventure, that's exactly what the Lost Legacy is. It's the same mechanics from 4, just rearranged and done with different things, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that works.
And I heard a lot, especially when they were showing this game at E3, a lot of like criticism about like, well, it just looks like more Uncharted 4 as like a bad thing. And like to the point you guys are saying, like it does feel like more Uncharted 4. But I loved Uncharted 4.
That's a great thing.
Yeah.
I will take a new Ratchet and Clank, new Tony Hawk, new Uncharted every year. Or every couple of years. I think that's fantastic.
I'd rather have more Uncharted 4 than Uncharted with tower defense mini games thrown into it or something like that.
Yeah, but that card game on Vita is pretty sweet. You gotta admit.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, and I've always liked Naughty Dog in that, the game I want to play next is Last of Us 2, right? I don't want to play the Loster Legacies, you know what I mean? In like a year. I'm just saying this series can continue. I think consumers would play it, right? Like if you want to talk about that, if they want to make it, right? And I think what this does sign off them on is, you were, and I use this, like I don't want to say stuck, but I mean like there is a certain thing after, I don't know, decades of working with Nathan Drake, you're like, okay, I get it. I know what he's about. There's not that much more to explore about who he is or where he goes. Yeah. When you do add new characters to it, I think you can explore some new things, right? And make them, they could be darker, right? Nathan was always, really lighthearted, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things they could do within that space saying that they could make Uncharted, right? Yeah. When they get rid of those bounds, and hopefully they want to do it. I get it if they're like, they never want to make an Uncharted game again. I get it.
Hello, Sony Bend. Are you interested?
But I hope they do. But I hope they do it like I think they do now. I'd love for them to have an arsenal of 3 or 4 franchises that they're good at and make great games at. Where I play, the next one of these, then I play the next one of those, and then maybe I play one of those, and maybe it takes 6 years before I get the next Uncharted. But I certainly don't want it to go away.
Yeah. One thing I was thinking of when I play it, they always reference the past, and I was like, man, that'd be cool to go way back, like the Pirate Age, or like what would that be like?
Play as Nate's mom, even,
Sir Francis Drake, stuff like that.
Ryan, is there a world where you can rank Lost Legacy amongst the other Uncharted's? Is it slot somewhere in there? Or you think it's just a different thing?
I think it's right there with 3. It's my least favorite, but
okay.
I guess 1. I maybe even put 3 above 1. So Lost Legacy is right in that territory, but it's 2 to 4, and then it's 3 Lost Legacy 1. Yeah, it's a haze in there.
Gotcha. Your reviews on the site now?
Reviews on the site. Yep.
Sweet. Cool. Check it out, everybody. You guys want to clap out of here if you've vented everything you have to say about Lost Legacy?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Bye, guys. Love you. All right. Goodbye, folks. Joe, you're still here.
I'm still here.
Thank God, man. The voice of reason. Then we have JV Gwaltney.
Hey, guys.
Kyle Hilliard. Hey. We have a lot of games to talk about. Where to start? Just joking. Agents of Mayhem from Volition. Kyle Hilliard.
Hi.
You recently reviewed this game. This is from Deep Silver. Feels like a THQ joint, but it's not. Volition's free from them.
Yeah. Finally got away from the tyranny.
Tyranny of the Saints Row license to make a game that some argue should have just been a Saints Row game.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like, because when you look at the Metacritic, I'm actually higher kind of on this game.
Oh, that hasn't come up. That's interesting.
I've enjoyed it more than I think a lot of viewers haven't. And it's weird because it puts me on the defensive to be like, I got to be like, man, this game's fun. You guys are going to really like this game. But ultimately, I'm kind of like, yeah, it's a good game. It's an 8. It's fun.
8 is above a meh score, so? I feel like. Yeah. Joe, where do you land on this, Mr. Reviews Editor?
I think it is, but like reading Kyle's review of it, I think what comes across, I haven't actually played it yet, but I love Saints Row 3 especially, but is that like I think a game that can really nail a just sort of like, I don't know, like degree of irreverence and like stupid fun cartoon action,
right?
Like that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
This hit
In the vein of EDF, like is that's what you're hoping for, Joe?
I mean, I think EDF falls into that category, but I mean, there are different ways to achieve something like that, whether it's through like humor or just like. I mean, if you look at a game like Saints Row the Third that incorporates all these like wacky weapons and vehicles and things like that, like I don't think Saints Row the Third is a perfect game, but I really appreciate it's just sort of like gonzo approach.
Yeah,
right?
and gonzo's a good word, and like stupid fun is a good word. In fact, in my review, one of your notes you gave me was like, you use the word stupid and dumb like too much. We need to take out a couple.
That might be a hint.
but it's a charming thing about the game. Like I meant it in a nice way. I think the one stupid that stayed in the review is like the story in this game is stupid, but I mean that in like a charming way, cartoonish, just bombastic explosions. It's driving feels good, shooting feels good, characters are fun, but
self-aware stupid? Is that the overall tone of the game?
No, it's just like stupid action one-liners and stuff like that. And the character, like one of the missions, for example, is like you have to kind of retrace your steps because you got like way too drunk the night before, and you have to figure out what happened. And like you find out that you entered like a robot fighting tournament by mistake because you were too drunk, and then you tried to steal art from some collector or something like that. So it's like weird, goofy stuff like that, which is. Like the premise, like is more kind of like okay, that's pretty funny, but then the moment to moment, like one-liners and jokes don't really hit that well,
Okay, that sounds like the Saints Row games to me, where you hear descriptions, it's like that's a really funny scene. Like the opening of Saints Row 4 is awesome, but then it's still some jokes where it's like, oh boy.
I'm kind of like more fascinated with the very vague marketing campaign for this game because I literally didn't know that it was like a Saints Row single player game until Kyle was talking about it in the office like a week before the review went up, where it was like, oh, I just assumed it was like a MOBA or something because of like
I thought it was a co-op thing, isn't it?
No, like
entirely
it was so
player.
confusing.
Yeah, and because their whole marketing push is all about these different teams of characters and swapping between them and stuff like that. So you get this sense of like, oh, maybe this is like a team focused thing, and it's like. Again, not until I read Kyle's review did I totally understand, like, oh, this is just Saints Row, except you have party members that you can swap between.
Which made me go, like, from not giving a damn about this game to, man, I really need to make time for this, because I'm in the same boat as Joe. I really like Saints Row 3 and 4.
And I kind of embarrassed myself at E3 meeting with those guys, because I had that moment of like, wait, this is a single-player game? Like, this is an open-world single-player shooter? And it's like, yeah, that's what it is.
Well, I mean, even Kato went and played it for us, like a preview thing, and he came back and he was like, yeah, I don't know what the hook is. I don't really get this game yet.
Yeah, I could see that. Having only played it for a few minutes, I could totally understand why Kato was, I don't want to say Kato was confused, because I don't think that was the case, but maybe even Volition didn't quite understand what they wanted to do.
So what is the hook? Just the zaniness and the gameplay feels great?
It's not a great open world game, but it's a good action game. Like the action is fun, and then there's sort of interesting strategy and sort of character interaction in the fact that you can switch between 3 characters at any time, and they're all distinct and they have their own abilities and characteristics.
And again, the impression I get is that like the characters is a big part of the appeal here too, like unlocking a bunch of like zany superhero style like abilities and things that you use to like fight around in the world, right?
Yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah.
It's funny with this game just to like try and unpack it. Like, okay, wait a minute. So it's a stupid single player character swappy thing that Kyle seems to like a lot.
The cop out is that it's if you like Saints Row, I still think Saints Row is a more fun game. I think Saints Row 3 is a better game.
I thought you were talking about the first one. Okay.
Oh no, yeah, the
back
first,
when it was good.
By the way, there are 2 original Saints Row games that nobody else.
We don't talk about those games.
What are you talking about?
But it's in line with those. Same sense of humor, same kind of action. So if you like Saints Row 3, you will probably like this as well.
And sorry, Joe, go ahead.
My big question, Kyle, Joe, from why isn't it called Saints Row?
Right. I think we all applaud Volition for wanting to do something new, to innovate for once in this industry, and then to tie it back so concretely.
But again, the icon for this game, like when you install it, is like a blockier version of the fluidity of the Saints Row iconic icon.
Is the question, is it marketing cowardice?
And Johnny Gat's in the game too, right?
Yeah, it's DLC.
Yeah. Oh.
There are, and I didn't finish Gat Out of Hell. I didn't play Gat Out of Hell, but I guess that the ending kind of sets up alternate universes.
Yeah,
it does actually.
Okay, so this could have been a spinoff. They could have called it Saints Row: Agents of Mayhem.
Is it the same world?
I think it's like another dimension. If you
It's like a
wanna get-
Nier Automata situation with just constantly weird branches.
I think so. It's and there's actually like moments in the story where they kind of play with that idea a little bit near the end, kind of like different dimensions and stuff like that. But I'm not going to go into that.
Okay.
But
I'll be damned. 8 out of 10.
yeah, it's a fun game. I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it.
Okay. All right. You're defensive enough. All right.
I liked it, Ben. If you like Saints Row, you'll like this game.
I don't know.
It's okay,
Reiner
but-
scoffed in the office this morning talking about playing it. What's the worst joke in the game?
Oh man, I don't know. That puts me on the spot there.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I'll come back to me on that.
Leo, do you have an example? You recently did a video about it.
What's
There
the
will
worst
be a
one-liner?
video on the site by the time this goes up. The
Leo.
very last one-liner in it is the worst one.
All right. Can you
Okay.
give us a hint?
Yo mama. That's all I'll say.
Oh, good.
That's a good answer, Leo. Thank you.
Go to GameOfOver.com, ladies and gentlemen. Run, don't walk. Hey, JV.
Yeah, what's up?
You played a couple of new games that came out this week.
I
Before we
did.
dive into something from last week.
Yeah.
Observer and Matterfall. Matterfall, not that it's less interesting, but it's a little bit less interesting than Observer. So what's going on with Matterfall quickly? What is it?
Matterfall is another arcadey sort of just action game from the makers of Resogun.
Housemarque won't stop cranking
Yeah,
out games.
what
do it
was the
really
game
quick.
they just put out?
What is it?
Nex Machina?
Yeah, Next Machina.
It's cool.
Just like a month or two ago.
Yeah, we had Eugene
Yeah.
Jarvis on the show talking about it.
This is basically a Mega Man wannabe, and it's really good at being a Mega Man wannabe. It's I mean, with like twin stick stuff added in, because it's very retro in the sense that there's not even really a story. Like it does the Nintendo, the old Nintendo game where you like where you have like an intro screen that like lays out the story, and then you are immediately into the
It's
game.
Mega Man.
Yeah, and then no more story until the very end, and it's like
And then
10
it says-
second intro, 10-second ending, end.
Sounds like Uncharted Lost Legacy, right?
Congratulations, you have beaten the game.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's very. There's a lot of focus on velocity. Like you're dashing around, and it's fun because when you dash, like you can phase through enemies and you
Yeah.
can stun them, and you have augmentations for your hand cannon, so you can turn it into a rail gun, you can turn it into a shotgun. You also have like sort of modifiers where you can like up your damage or detonate bombs that are farther away and this and that, and it's fun but super difficult because it's very bullet hell.
Yeah.
Almost all the enemies like fire in a circular pattern, and they're just sending bullets all over the screen, and you have to dodge them. And
Has any game ever described itself as bullet heaven? That'd be kind of funny.
Ikaruga or something like that.
I bet it did, yeah.
but for the most part, it's really fun until like the very end, where it becomes this very cheap death sort of thing that just happens over and over again, because you have to thread the needle a lot with the platforming, and then the last boss fight is ridiculous. It took me 200 tries.
But you have a video up on the site.
Yeah,
of
we
you
have a
doing
video
it.
up on the site of like how to do it. And the reason it takes so much time is it has like a 12 stage sort of boss fight, but there's so much going on at the screen because it does the Resogun thing where when enemies die, they explode and it's fireworks everywhere. And you have to pay attention and learn the patterns, but it's so hard to do that with so much chaos going.
Right.
on.
So you gave it. Oh, what?
Bullet Heaven and Bullet Heaven 2 exist.
Oh, cool.
Are they on iOS?
As far as I could tell, like Steam and like browser. I think that they're like Flash based.
I'll be damned. JV, so what did you give Bullet Heaven to?
I gave it an 8.
Okay,
if
great.
you like that, if you like that
Matterfall.
dumb arcadey kind of
Dumb.
game and want something that's really challenging,
It's a super dumb week.
It's so dumb.
Oh my God. All right. So what about this dumb game Observer that you posted your dumb review about, and just turns out your dumb opinions have infiltrated our minds?
Yeah.
So this game, Observer, one of the most forgettable words in the English language,
Yeah.
that decided to name a game after it. Joe, we all know it's true. So,
I don't even think it's like low bottom like 50%.
all right, what's the most forgettable word in the
In
English
2
language,
weeks,
then?
this game will be known as the Rutger Hauer game
Yes.
for sure.
Okay.
JV, the point is this game came out of nowhere,
Right?
and you ended up really liking it.
Yeah, I love it.
What is Observer?
Observer is a cyberpunk horror fusion kind of game where you play a detective that has the ability to jack into the minds of people.
Oh, like Mind Jack.
What?
Square's Mind Jack?
Or Remember Me,
It's a shooter,
Yeah,
right?
it's more like Remember Me.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
which more people played,
yeah.
and even then,
But more horror than Remember Me, because you're actually walking around in these people's memories, and they're sort of fragmented because a lot of these people are like dying or they're traumatized or something, and so their memories are shifting, and you're trying to uncover like evidence. Sometimes it's like key code stuff, or try to figure out what happened in a particular crime scene. And then there's also the other half of the game where you're in the real world, and it takes place in this sort of rundown apartment complex called the Stacks. and you're walking around, and you can do side missions with the tenants there who live there. But you're like you're using various augmented visions. Like you have like a biological sort of vision where you can like trace, blood, examine wounds and stuff. And then you have electromagnetic where you can, examine like implants and bodies.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. So there's also like a crime scene investigation mechanic to it as well. And the plot's really good. You play, the observer, and you get a distress call in the beginning. You're just sitting in your car having a burger or something, and you get a distress call from your son who you haven't spoken to in like 20 years. And it's from the Stacks. So you go there to try and find out where he is, and you get involved in this huge conspiracy while also confronting like, shit that your main character did in the past that was kind of like terrible. So it's a really engaging 5-hour sort of journey.
5 hour.
Yeah, 5 hours.
Interesting.
So is this on, just from your description of it seems a little like it might be on the like interactive narrative side of things.
What are you trying to say, Joe?
It's not a walking sim.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, whoa.
No,
I didn't say
we don't like that term around here.
Okay, so if it's not, what differentiates it? What sets it apart?
There are puzzles. There are puzzles that you can solve. There are also side quests that you can do. Like, there's I don't want to spoil the side quests because they're really good and there aren't that many of them. But there are puzzles that you have to solve, like tracing lines to figure out passcodes, actually using your vision to, piece together what happened, checking computer terminals to put evidence together. So it's not just like walk around and interact with things or experience jump scare after jump scare after jump scare.
So, because you've talked about this as like, as like a horror game, like where do the horror elements come in? Is it jump scares? Is it atmosphere? Is it like
it's both of those. There are a lot of jump scares. Kyle can testify to that, but there's also it's a sense of because we stream the game
and Kyle jumped out of his skin
constantly.
Yeah,
it's just it's really just creepy to exist in that world.
It's very creepy, even in the real world parts where you are not in someone's memory and the memories are like crumbling. It's like a very sort of Inception thing where like things just happen out of nowhere, and that's where a lot of the jump scares come from. But in the real world itself, it's just like such a grimy sort of Blade Runner-y place. Like the scene in Blade Runner where Deckard's fighting Roy the replicant, and they're in that sort of house that's falling to pieces. It's just really ratty. Like that's the kind of place that the apartment complex and Observer is.
It's very Blade Runner overall.
Yeah, it's super Blade Runner. It wants to be Blade Runner really bad, but I think it does a pretty good job of it. It reminds me a lot of Snatcher. I don't know if you guys have...
I've always wanted to play it. Joe and I have.
I have it it's been sitting on my desk for like 5 years.
Any day now.
Waiting to be inserted into a system that will play it.
You know what I heard? Someone was talking about, I think it was on Idle Thumbs, and they just talked about like, just watch a Let's Play of it. Like, find out what the best Let's Play is of Hideo Kojima's old Snatcher game.
We could make that Let's Play.
But that seems... We'd have to look at a walkthrough ourselves then, Joe. I'm very selfish that way.
But it's still like that kind of game where you are actually an investigator and you have all these cool cybernetic, implants, and you're using them. And they're also like tied in narratively, and it's really fun.
It's
really
weird
good.
That two of your favorite games of the year so far, Get Even and Observer, both are first-person weirdo games where things are crumbling down around you, right? Like you're like in different environments that are breaking down.
I think this is a much better game than Get Even. I liked Get Even, but it was so rough around the edges, and this one just feels. I was talking about it last night. To me, it's the difference between like you look at Looper and Primer and that sort of game or that sort of movie versus Back to the Future. Like how they approach time travel, where Back to the Future is like very special effects heavy, and we are going to show you literally everything. Where Looper and Primer have to be clever.
Which is which?
What do you mean?
What are you talking about?
No, like I'm getting there.
We're familiar with those films.
No. So to me, it's sort of like that with this and Blade Runner, where Blade Runner shows you everything, or any other like sort of cyberpunk game where it's like, here's the whole sprawl of the city that you have to work with, and you're investigating sort of like the politics and like the corporations and, the horrors of like body augmentation and just technology on like a person's mental stability. Like they usually do that with an entire city, and here they do that with just sort of this very labyrinth. It's a very much smaller labyrinth of like the mind and like this sort of haunted house apartment complex.
Okay, so you're saying the Rutger Hauer game is more like Looper because it's like really focused.
Yeah, more like Looper and Primer because it has to be clever. Like it has to present a world without having necessarily the budget to like show you everything. Like it has to do suggestions a lot and find clever ways of like presenting a world without necessarily like, here's this entire cityscape that costs millions of dollars to make.
I'll be damned. You give it a 9.
Yeah, give it a 9.
So here's another thing that surprised me about that is JV and I think both played this team's previous game.
Layers of
Who
Fear.
are these guys? Where did they come from?
It's Bluebird team.
Yeah,
right?
Bluebird team.
So they
Wait
made
a second. Bluebird?
Bloober.
Bloober, as
Like,
in
blubber,
like-
but bloob.
I think
or
I actually
goober, but goo.
wasn't that a thing in Super Mario Sunshine? Wouldn't you ride the bloopers around?
I don't. It sounds about
That's
right.
what
Point being is that like I was really skeptical when JV was telling me about how good Observer was because I played Layers of Fear, which I know has a following. I really did not like because it just felt like a carnival funhouse.
Yep.
Was its one gimmick where it's like you walk through a door, you turn around, the door's not there anymore, and then you turn around and there's a monster there.
Yeah.
You know,
Stop,
and
Joe. You're
it's
scaring me. Come on.
no,
Be cool.
But I mean, but that was the whole thing of that game was just like, okay, so the environment's gonna surprise me sometimes, and like I feel like that game did not have the narrative to really support the atmosphere it was trying to convey.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I actually do not like Layers of Fear at all. I think Joe's pretty much right. Like, it has one thing that it does really not that well. After like the first 10 times it scares you because it's a game that's constantly throwing the kitchen sink at you.
Right.
And Observer does have some of those tricks that it uses just, because of jump scares, but it doesn't make it its whole thing, and it has a context for that where it's like, here are all these crumbling memories that you're trying to like navigate in this dying person's mental state while it's just falling apart. And I feel like that is a much better context for like those sort of jump scares than like, here's a creepy old house that you've probably been in, in a bunch of other games or in like watched in other movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. 9.0. Observer. Yep. Exciting. A game we didn't talk about last week, even though it came out last week, sadly, because Joe was out of town. And turns out Kyle and I had to dive deep on Pokemon for 45 minutes.
Very important.
Was Hellblade Senua Sacrifice. We did the cover story earlier this year. Very exciting. I guess it was Reeves and Cork that were on that trip with me.
Mm-hmm.
But Joe, you reviewed it. JV, have you finished it?
No, I haven't finished it because like I had 3 reviews to do.
Okay, everybody else. Hey, look, I don't know. Look, I'm not accusing. But the rest of us have played a bit of it. Joe, you came in higher, and I think the industry came in higher on that game than I was expecting. What did you think of it?
First of all, I'm curious why was that a surprise for you?
I thought there was going to be more of a chasm because they flipped back and forth, and the team, it seemed like, was divided about whether or not to even call this game a spiritual successor to Heavenly Sword, the first Bullet Heaven game. But I thought people were going to be going in expecting that and expecting more of just a basic stylish action game, and then get into it and realize it's more abstract, more artsy. Some would say more of a walking sim during certain areas than maybe some people would expect. It's less gamey than I thought maybe a certain community was hoping for.
Yeah.
But it seems like it has found its audience and people are enjoying it.
Yeah. And I think all of those things that you say are fair reservations.
Yeah.
About Hellblade. It is not a spiritual successor to Heavenly Sword in any way. I mean, like, despite Ninja Theory's sort of reputation for combat in games like that, in games like DMC,
and Disney Infinity Star Wars.
Yeah, and that actually.
And Fight Back.
Shut up. Okay. So the point being is that while this game does have a combat system, it is not the star of the show. And in fact, I think does more to hold the game back than it does to contribute to it.
From what? What's the star of the show?
Okay, so what actually kind of based on some of the things we were just talking about with Observer and Layers of Fear.
Let's just play those clips again.
So the core thrust of this game, if you're new to it, is that you play this Celtic warrior named Senua, who is essentially descending into hell to restore the soul of a loved one.
Yeah.
Except instead of this being a sort of typical hero's journey, because that whole setup sounds familiar, is the real centerpiece of the whole thing is that Senua suffers from like mental psychosis. So this casts doubt on everything you're doing, everything you're seeing, and they try to convey they being Ninja Theory, like through various elements of the gameplay and like your physical experience of playing the game, try to convey this degree of sort of like struggle or uncertainty with mental illness.
Yeah.
Which sometimes results in this not being super fun as a game.
The creative director, is the first time I've ever gone on a cover story where the creative director explicitly said, "Oh no, this game isn't fun."
Yeah.
Or it's like, "Oh, okay, well, this is something new for a video game."
And I think that's fair. But I mean, like, you know, is all art fun?
Yeah.
And that's, I think this game really straddles that line between being a sort of like interactive art piece and being a game that you want to play. It reminds me in some ways of like Suda 51 games in that sense too.
Oh, interesting.
You
What a
know,
weird comparison.
I brought, you know what, this game, this is a quick aside on that point, is I was reminded of Shadows of the Damned playing this game at certain points, which is like, was not something I expected to walk away with and be like, oh, that kind of, I remember Shadows of the Damned, that was fun. Anyway.
Yeah.
What about it exactly?
Well, there's, I mean, in that sort of descent into hell, in a lot of ways, that's what Shadows of the Damned is about too. And even there's some visual overlap there. You know, some of the environments kind of remind me of one another. And I love Shadows of the Damned. That's actually like far and away my favorite Suda 51 game.
And so, JV, you're an RTMFer.
Yeah.
It seems like you're less hot on this game.
Well, I haven't beaten it yet. So, and I'm still like progressing slowly through it just because there's been a lot on my plate and I've been wanting to play
All
other
right, we
things.
get it. You're
Yeah.
busy. You're busy.
Yeah. I'm a busy guy. Yeah, it just feels like such a slog right now, frankly. Like I think I'm still early on, but there's this bit in the game where you have to, one of the gameplay bits is finding patterns in the environment and like aiming your cursor at it and like trying to match up patterns, and you're just walking around the environment doing that, and that's just not. I don't like that, and I don't like the combat that much. And I know the combat, like you said, isn't the star of the show. That is not the purpose of this game. I totally get it, but that's also a chore, especially when I think of like the other great combat systems that Ninja Theory's put together, like the one in their DMC reboot.
It's tough to make a great combat system with no UI.
Yeah,
It's also a mission statement for this game is to keep it very pure and immersive.
Yeah, but you know, it's not a game that I hate. I think it's beautiful and to look at. Like it is. Every time, you know, you see a character model's face, it's like, oh wow, okay. The environments are great. It just feels kind of like a slog right now, and I'm going to push through it because everyone's so hot on it, and I want to see like how it all comes together. But it is not working for me right now.
It's funny because I'm almost weirdly the opposite, you know, because there are so many like
you're not very busy.
I just ignore my child and get games out of the way and stuff. But
oh, do you have a kid?
I do. Have I mentioned her before? She's really into Hellblade, by the way. She loves Senua. I feel like it's way. Like, I'm enjoying kind of like looking around the environments and finding. I'm actually liking the combat as it's a way to just keep everything very active. Like, because you kind of talked about like that walking sim idea of how a lot of the game is walking around and just sort of experiencing what Senua experienced, which I think they do really well. But I really like being able to actually have to do things like solve puzzles, and the combat is really oppressive, and like it getting through it feels good. I'm not really like the joy in quotes isn't really like learning the combos, but rather just like breaking through and finally like getting through all those enemies, and I'm having a good time.
There's a good atmosphere, like the music and just the visuals of the enemies you're fighting.
And the whispering is super effective. Like I really like having the headphones.
Oh yeah, definitely play it with headphones.
Oh yeah, I do like that.
We didn't even talk about that. Yeah, so like one of the ways this game sort of like tries to put you in Senua's mind is by having just these constant like whispers of like, you should go that way. Oh no, they're gonna get us. Don't
some
go
are
over
positive,
there.
some are negative.
Yeah, and like giving conflicting advice, and so that element of it I think is really well done. And if you're wearing headphones, it does a lot to sort of like, I was accidentally wearing headphones. Sort of. Well, no,
that happens, man. I know.
No. In the sense of like, I played maybe the first half an hour of the game just like, you know, coming through like surround sound, and then my wife came downstairs and wanted to read a book. So then out of courtesy, I was just like, oh well, you know, like you sit and cuddle with the dogs, and I'll like plug in my headphones.
It's the most insight I've ever had into Joe's life, by the way. Okay,
yeah. So I plugged in my headphones and was like, whoa, this game is a lot better now.
Yeah.
Or not a lot better, but I mean like this really comes through a lot clearer, this sense of like being constantly surrounded and accompanied, I think comes through.
And and also on that, the performance overall is good, which is cool because the lead actress she's not a professional actor, right?
She's the video editor.
She's the video editor.
Ninja Theory.
Yeah.
She's doing I haven't finished it, so I feel like I'm saying it in the present tense, but she's doing a great job. Like I think that she does really well in the game.
Does it really demand that much from her? I'm not discrediting that she did a good
Yes.
job,
Yeah,
but
the camera,
later on,
there's a lot of the
Okay.
camera coming in on her face to to show off what she's going through at the moment. I think she does a really good job.
I mean, like Senua goes through a lot of like harrowing things.
Yeah.
And it's more than just sort of like it's not all just straight up like, oh, there's a terror in front of me, scream.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like creeping terror and realization and like uncertainty that I think actually takes a lot of talent to sort of convey.
Wow.
So I think that was really well done also.
Yeah, much like Sonic Mania, I'm glad this is a game being released. Like, it really says a lot about the industry that something so bizarre can be cranked out. And hats off to Ninja Theory for pushing something so bizarre through their own system that they built up.
Yeah, it's. I like the idea of it so far. Like, I really do. When I loaded up the main menu, and it was just sort of like, oh, there's like no bells or whistles here, you know, because usually like main menus, or at least for like, you know, a lot of these games are super flashy and whatever, but it just felt very old and sort of like buttoned down, and then it's
like
a game
placeholder font.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly,
kind
like
of?
placeholder font, and it's a suggestion that like, here's what this game is, you know, it's just very straightforward. We're gonna do something weird, and I like that.
But a very pretty weird.
Yeah.
So as I was one more thing I want to say on this is that like so I played the game and wrote the review, and then after I did that, I wanted a little more insight into the, you know, like I didn't want this stuff to sort of like taint my approach to the review.
Love it, yeah.
But I went back and like reread our cover story on it, and
You know there are videos, right? You don't need to-
watched like there's an in-game documentary that they have about like how it handles mental illness and things like that. And one thing that I didn't totally that like I guess as a reassurance for people who are thinking about playing it but have maybe heard that this game was made on the cheap. It does not feel like a cheap game.
No.
And some of the tricks that they've done, I didn't even realize they did.
The live action stuff?
Like the live action stuff, I think actually works really well because it produces a sort of dissonance between the world that you're expecting to see and the world that Senua is seeing. So that did not seem like a cost-saving measure. That seemed like a deliberate, like artistic choice.
Yeah, it calls in question like her perception of how she sees real people in the world. Yeah,
exactly.
Works.
Or the fact that like I didn't really even notice this until I finished the game, that like Senua is basically the only character who has like a fully animated like face, and most of the other like monsters you're running into have weird sort of like pyramid head style masks or whatever.
They look kind of like Ben Reeves in a weird way.
We did a video during that month of coverage you can go back and find in the hub, which is fun, where they have we got Ben Reeves in the mocap suit and he's improving with the actress that plays Senua, role playing as if he's an enemy in the game, and there's some very stupid stuff in there if you want to go experience that. That was
excellent.
I'm very happy with that coverage we cranked out. But
bottom line is that like even though this is a relatively, I would say, like compact and it's ambitious in a lot of ways, but it's not just like it's not over the top, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a cheap game.
Yeah, on that front though, I haven't looked into how common it is, but I cannot play it because it keeps crashing. About like an hour and a half in on my computer, it's crashed like 5 times now in this one area.
I mean, that's Senua. That's how she sees it.
Oh,
that's
I didn't
part of
think
the
about it
game.
that way. Oh my gosh, there's nothing
You got
wrong.
Psycho Mantis.
Yeah. What'd you end up giving it, Joe?
I gave it an 8. Same thing Kyle gave Agents of Mayhem.
As good as Agents of Mayhem. There we go. And Matterfall.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Did Matterfall also get it?
Yep.
Is this just the 8 block?
Welcome to the 8 block. Anything else, Joe?
There is one other thing that I wanted to talk about. Like JV's talking about the combat being a little bit frustrating and things like that. And like for me, as I was playing it, there was something that amplified that. And I talked about this before too, with like your actual experience with the game sort of reinforcing its themes. And that's like very early in the game, you are told that that there's basically this like supernatural rot going up Senua's arm.
Yeah.
And that if you die too much, it's going to reach your head and the game's going to erase your progress.
Now, do you want to spoil anything here?
I don't want to spoil anything about that. But what I want to say is the perception of that happening is, I think, colors your experience with the game. Like, because sometimes if you're frustrated in combat because there are lots of guys around you and you can't quite dodge the right way and you end up dying, it feels unfair, and it adds a degree of maybe like frustration, like frustrating intensity to it. But at the same time, the perception that you're always in danger like that seems to be a goal of Ninja Theories to sort of to make this like psychosis of Senua's more tangible to you as a player.
Okay, yeah.
Which, again, I guess I don't know, on a gameplay front, I don't know if that makes it a good game, but it makes it an interesting thing to think about.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
So
right on.
that's what I want to say about that.
There we go. You guys want to move on to some great emails?
Let's do it.
There we go.
They're great.
And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. We have some great emails from the community here. People wrote in emails to podcast@GameInformer.com. They had feedback, they had thoughts, they had news stories, they had questions, everything under the sun. They sent it to podcast@GameInformer.com. We sorted through, pulled out what we think are the best of the best, and then at the tail end of this, the very best question, we're going to choose it, lock it down 100% concretely, and then we're going to ship them out something real nice. Right, Kyle Hillier?
Yes, they're going to get something great.
Can't
is
wait.
what we do.
We do that every week. Thank you, Tim Turry, for starting that trend that we'll never get out of. All right. No, we love it. Thank you so much for writing into podcast@GameInformer.com. First email comes from a place called Yonkers, New York.
Yeah,
which,
man.
Yeah, that's where
Good old
World War
Yonkers.
Z ended.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You say this like it's... I'm sorry.
No human being has ever heard of
Yeah,
Yonkers.
it's actually a fairly popular.
it's a big thing.
location in New York. Yeah.
And it really is the battle at Yonkers is like the sort of climax of World War Z, right? You guys read that
This
book,
isn't
right?
like a joke place, Tansen.
Really?
It's,
I thought it was just like a Chuck E. Cheese over there in New York.
Oh, wow.
Anyways, it sounds lovely. I gotta go. Anyway, this is a Rich Lynch from Yonkers. Of course, he says, "Hey, GI crew, I think I may have a definitive answer to the question of characters in Star Wars who have died peacefully.
No.
The
more of
answer
this.
is R5D4, the R2 unit that dies from a bad motivator. Tell me, what is more peaceful than dying from a lack of motivation?" Reiner brought that up, I believe.
He's a droid.
Immediately. Are you saying droids don't have souls?
That's correct. Droid cannot die.
Okay.
Are you the type that would not let droids into your bar, Dan?
No, I let them into the bar. They just can't die. They're not alive.
Are you the type that would shove a drink in a droid's mouth, probably murdering it, therefore, if it's in your bar, Dan?
You can't murder it. It's not alive.
Okay, buddy.
Okay. But and that aspect of the argument aside, yes, Reiner. I think Reiner did bring that up, like when the question first was posed. But like, here's the other thing I think about that is like, R5D4 was being sold by Jawas who had a whole sand crawler full of replacement parts.
Yeah.
Like, you can't tell me that one little blown motivator is suddenly going to be like, well, this guy's shot. They're going to go take him back and fix him up and he's ready to
So
go
he's not
again.
really dead.
I don't think he's dead.
He was just, his heart flatlined for a short period of time.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even that. It's just more like he just switched off for a little bit.
This
and then
is-
he got switched on. It's
Imran-
like when you go to bed.
I understand. Imran pointed out on Twitter, this is a weird legacy for him to leave. I still don't know if it's an interesting question, but people are captivated by it, clearly. Joe, do you have thoughts?
So, well, are we talking about people? Is this people who've died on screen in the Star Wars movie?
Yes, peacefully.
Oh, God.
Or just within the universe. I think I'll accept it.
Even off screen,
Even
like,
universe,
it's
you can
kinda hard
probably find really,
Yeah.
if we expand this to universe, they've already begun like doing all kinds of books and all kinds of crazy stuff in the new.
Yeah.
canon.
Do you guys hear about that? That they're doing books and all sorts of crazy stuff? in
No,
Star
I'm just
Wars?
saying. I mean, if we go back to old school EU,
Yeah.
you can't use that because it's
Yeah, it
not
doesn't
canonical anymore.
Right.
So I'm saying they've already rejuvenated that.
Well, how
and-
about this for rejuvenation? Evan Rayford says, Anakin's mother in episode 2 was a peaceful death. She died finally
Are you
seeing her son again
what?
after a decade apart.
And after several weeks of torture and
No.
starvation.
Thumbs down.
Nope.
Dear
Here's
God,
a peaceful
no.
death
Okay.
would trigger that act of vengeance of decapitating
So-
everybody in the entire planet.
And here, for people who've not been following week to week, the core question is, besides Yoda,
Yes.
Right.
who has died a peaceful death in Star Wars?
Well, Hunter has a follow-up. Oh, did you have more on that?
here's when I was thinking
Yeah.
of, if we use Yoda as a baseline,
Yeah.
in episode 1, we also see Yaddle,
Who disappears?
who does not die on screen, but is of Yoda's species,
Yeah.
sort of fades away out of the limelight after that first episode. But the idea, I mean, she's got to be dead. at this point.
No,
Well, that's a big
not
assumption, I
necessarily.
think.
Anybody who was on screen for a little bit then wasn't like there was a Camino that walked by in the hallway. I bet he died a peaceful death because he's not in the movies anymore.
Hey, there you go. There you go.
Dumbest thing I've ever
I'm
heard.
just saying, she's the same species that Yoda was. So let's
she
assume
can
that
live
they
for a
die
while.
in the same way.
I mean,
Well, how can we assume she died peacefully
Shut
even
up.
if we're assuming she's dead? Like,
no, okay, you're right. I mean,
Also,
I know you're right.
I feel
I'm
like-
reaching here. I'm trying to find a solution to this vexing
this
problem.
query.
it might
is
not-
it implied that they tried to procreate Yaddle and Yoda?
Oh, big time.
Yeah, what happens in your
That's the-
on-screen
oh,
fantasies,
yeah.
Kyle?
You got those little
Oh, boy.
thorny genitalia coming out at each other.
You know what happened when you saw her show up on screen. You can tell.
She did awkwardly puppet wink at the camera at one point. Hunter writes in and says, "Hey guys, this is Crew Hunter from Canada. Okay, hear me out. Yoda died a slow and painful death. He went to Dagobah to hide from the Empire because the dark side of the Force was strong there. By the time Luke got to him, Yoda was extremely weak due to the planet's evil presence sapping his life over the years. Yoda did not die peacefully in his sleep. He can't be your example. He died over decades as his life force was drained from his tiny body by the embodiment of hatred, evil, and pain."
That's what happens to all of us.
Yeah.
I like
if,
this one too.
if you're setting that as, I mean, then there is no peaceful.
It's
death.
just the live stream from Final Fantasy 7 is just sucking us all dry.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's this whole fan theory, that Dagobah like sucks the soul out of people.
He's a pretty
I've seen
spry
the
dude
theory.
when Luke gets there, though, right? He's goofy.
He's fine.
And
He's fine. It was
He's
peaceful
just
death.
giddy. He's on a sugar high.
Also,
Yeah.
dude's 900 years old. I don't know.
He's got to go.
I'm not into that.
All right, well, that's it for emails this week.
Okay, good.
Someday
More
we'll get
Star
to the
Wars
bottom of
next
this.
Billy, I don't think there's an answer, everybody. The Republic is the best answer we're ever going to get, and Joe says nay.
I
do like the
That's a
Republic
terrible answer. It's
Okay.
not a loop.
I like it.
All right, well, Billy from New Jersey says, "Hey, Super Meat Boy was just announced for the Switch, and I realized it is, without a doubt, my favorite game I've never finished. I played through it on PC, Vita, and a third time recently on my new PC. I will certainly buy it once again on the Switch, but I know I'll just get to, quote, the end stages and not actually beat it. So my question to you all is, what's your favorite game that you've technically never beaten?"
I got one.
Yeah, Dan.
Persona 4.
Oh,
Five.
really?
Five. Ugh.
What? You were hot and heavy on
Yes,
that game on
I
this
still haven't
podcast.
finished it. Yeah, I'm
You're
still
busy.
hot and heavy
Busy
on it.
man.
I am still extremely hot and heavy on it.
I feel like
still haven't
you're
finished it.
still in the window of like that game having come out, and it's only been a couple
but
months. So I don't.
That wasn't a qualifier. Like it's just.
I know, but I'm still like I don't feel like
It came out in April.
yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I don't hear that and say like, oh, I can't believe Dan hasn't beaten that yet. So it's only been out for a
I
couple
say
months,
that.
you know.
I
You can
think.
say that.
How about if you color it this way?
Red.
Brian Shea has beaten Persona 5.
Yeah. Yes, he has.
Good point.
Shay. Tack.
I'll tell you what.
I bring that up not as a slight against Shea, but as a, I guess, Dan Tack being one of the big fans of this series in the office, and Brian Shea only sporadically playing JRPGs.
Joda. Yaddle, hear me out. I remember when we were talking.
I think I'm usually Juba the Hutt when it comes to Star.
that makes
Star Wars
much more
characters,
sense.
But okay, go
Okay,
ahead.
Jay Wing. So the thing is, back when you talked about that Persona 5 when it first came out, you're like, look, it's 100 hours, but it deserves and earns every hour of that.
Yeah.
Time has gone on. So many people that supposedly love that series are just crawling to the finish line. I don't know if everyone else shares that sentiment that you have. I feel like everyone else wants it to be done at least around like the 70-hour mark.
I don't want it to be done either. It's just that I.
Well, you're doing a good
it
job
is-
of not finishing it.
I
then.
know. It is difficult to find the time for it.
It takes a lot of. I mean, and especially, this is maybe not a common problem, but like for us, like we just have a lot of games to play. And it can be hard to be like, okay, for the next 3 weeks, the only game I'm playing when I go home is Persona 5.
I wish.
A lot of stuff gets pushed to the wayside then.
I'm just saying I would love to see those completion stats. I bet I can on PS4,
Yeah,
right?
you could. Yeah.
I'm going to look that up because I bet they are just dangerously low. Dangerously low.
Agents of Mayhem's was 0.7% when I checked.
Like after the game came out, even?
The achievement for beating the game as of yesterday was 0.7%.
Well, to be fair, it came out yesterday.
came out yesterday,
Yeah.
dummy.
I
Yeah,
know.
that's a good point. I forget that I had it early. Sorry.
Hey, I was 0.00001% of the players who beat Bloodborne.
I
Let me tell you,
forgot. I
buddy.
forgot that
I might have been
it
one of the
just
first-
came out yesterday.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway,
okay.
my answer is
Holy
Earthbound.
God.
I
Okay.
adore Earthbound, but I've never actually beaten the final boss. I've
Fun
gotten to
fact,
the final
no
boss.
one's ever
That's a
actually
good one.
finished
Is that
Earthbound.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
I heard
There
that.
we go. Played
that's
it,
a great
yeah,
one.
played on Wii U, and I have it on 3DS as well. But on Super Nintendo, I got to the end boss, and I never finished.
Everyone's just banking like Reeves is on that Super Nintendo Classic. Like,
That's
that's when I'm
right.
finally going to finish that
Yeah.
beloved game. Then it's really, I'm going to find the time magically to play it. Mine is Final Fantasy VIII in a very similar way, where I love that game, but I got to the Ultimecia fight at the end, and my friend, I was over at his house when he beat it, and we taped the ending on VCR. On a VHS tape, you know?
Yeah.
And then I put Final Fantasy VIII stickers all over the VHS tape, and so I watched the final fight and the ending 1,000 times. So when I got to it in my own game, I'm like, I'm good.
I've seen this.
Yeah, and now as an adult, as a grown, broad-shouldered man, I keep thinking back about like I've never technically beaten that game. It kind of bugs me.
Did you invent Let's Play that day?
Yes,
with his little stickers.
yes, we did.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Mine is Valkyria Chronicles 3.
You poser.
Which like I'm borrowing a Japanese PSP that has this game and the fan translation patch. I'm a huge fan of the series. I loved 1 and 2. 3 never came to the US, so you have to play it this import fan translation version
Down
of it.
dirty.
It's more Valkyria Chronicles, and I should just be like burning through it with how much I love that series, and yet at the same time it's like I'm maybe like 15 hours into it, and every couple months I go and put a few more hours into it, but it's just like, I, for whatever reason, I just don't see it through.
Well, thank you for outing yourself. You're never allowed to demand more Valkyria content ever again.
Hey, I'm still playing it.
He imported it.
I'm
yeah,
doing it.
but still.
It's happening.
Yeah. Hello, GI Show, says Nick from Atlanta. Jump scares, good or bad?
They used to be a good thing when they were used sparingly, and now that they're a crutch more than ever, I think, for both movies and games. And it's like basically we don't know how to make something atmospherically scary, so we're just going to put jump scares in and loud noises. And if you just rely on those, it kind of sucks. But combined with stuff that would otherwise normally be scary, then it works really well used sparingly as a device.
Well, what about the Twitch argument? Where it seems like streamers love just clear, simple jump scares so they can have crazy react
Okay, I mean,
videos.
Great. I'm not.
Okay, then they're good for Twitch.
See,
but I mean,
That's
like,
like-
Dan articulated my exact opinion on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of there too.
guys have
Atmosphere
the-
over jump scares.
Do you guys have examples of the worst jump scare, just easy jump scare games?
Five Nights at Freddy's.
There we
That's
go.
all it is. One
We-
series of jump scares.
We were talking about it before. Layers of Fear, I think,
Yeah.
is one that relies a lot on just like cheap surprise rather than actually like building atmosphere.
Yeah. By the way, Nick from Atlanta says, P.S. I'm going to be at the GameStop Expo in a couple weeks as a store leader. Am I going to see some of you there?
He's going to see Brian Shea.
I thought you were going to Antac, aren't you?
No, I went, 2 years ago?
Oh, is that right?
I think Kim's
A year
going
ago?
also.
Oh,
Andy
okay.
Reiner, I think.
Yeah.
probably.
I don't know if Reiner, for sure Andy, though. Yeah, so say hello to those folks. Tell them we said hi.
Yeah.
Anyways, Andrew J.W. Thompson. Thank you, Joe, for laughing at that. Andrew J.W. Thompson says, hey, crew, with the announcement of both Uncharted: The Lost Legacy and Dishonored: Death of the Outsider, are we seeing a new trend? Perhaps with the backlash about season passes and the lower participation rate of paid DLC, and the new go-to for companies is to create a standalone expansion for $30 or $40 using work that's essentially already done. I mean, that's a stretch, but is standalone expansion the new term for paid DLC?
No. I think we're still going to, despite, he's right. There are those standalone expansion things that are cool,
I love them, yeah.
but I think, paid DLC isn't going anywhere.
I think it's an interesting point, specifically for the kind of experience that's being talked about there. Because I agree with Dan. Paid DLC isn't going anywhere if you want to like buy costumes or get some sort of boosters or whatever.
Orcs.
But I think it's funny. It's like calling this a new trend because like this is what this was like,
But not-
10 years ago.
But not standalone.
I suppose not standalone was true, but like the idea that I think we're in a weird spot where you either have a more fully featured standalone expansion or you have a free update, a free patch or something that, I mean, like take a look at like what Final Fantasy 15's done over the last year, right?
Yeah.
So I think that this creates this weird middle ground that DLC used to live in, or maybe still lives in, like DLC story content that like, it's hard to set expectations for because if it's not, if it's just a little too little, then you're like, why wasn't this a free patch, like a free update? And if you're going to do more, then maybe just really do it and make something that can really pull people in.
It makes sense, though. I mean, just to have a wider mouth for possible people being interested in this. Like I was thinking about, like I enjoyed Uncharted 4 a lot, but if Uncharted Lost Legacy was just broken up into 3 different chapters as paid DLC. I think it'd be one of those things where I'm like, yeah, when I have time, I'll get around to it. But this feels like so much more of like a momentous thing. Like now's the time to enjoy Lost Legacy and get in a wider discussion about it. And like I think back to like, I wonder if Assassin's Creed 3, I understand a lot of people hate that game, but I had to find time with it. And they had that bizarre Tyranny of King George Washington DLC.
Yeah.
And that always sounded interesting, but I was never going to pay for that DLC. But if it was like a standalone little nugget, I bet I would have been more enticed to finally check that out.
Well, because the Tyranny of Washington was like a 3-part DLC, like season pass thing. And I don't think it's hard to see season passes falling out of favor extremely right now. I mean, like, I don't think those are going to be.
Have they ever been in favor?
No, but I mean, like, I don't see publishers leaning on those as much anymore.
Yeah. Leo in the booth, I made your assistance for this one. Hans from the Netherlands. Hello, Hans, my ancestor, says, hey, Ben and the others. Jurassic Park is probably my favorite film. It changes every now and then, but I'm comfortable saying it's as close to perfect as any film has ever come. It's also my favorite film. My girlfriend and I, however, have a long-running argument. During the money exchange scene early in the film between Nedry and Dodgson, you can hear a high-pitched squeal when Dodgson opens the shaving foam can. I know that the sound is made by Nedry as he laughs and wiggles excitedly, but my girlfriend thinks the sound is made by the can when it's screwed open. Can you settle this argument for us?
It's Nedry, right?
It's 100% Nedry, but it is bizarre, and I wonder... I mean, they must have added it in
When I
post.
first saw the movie, I actually, thought the same thing.
Yeah.
I did, but like I've seen it so many times now that it is Nedry's squeal.
And you know that George Lucas oversaw the sound production for that film because Spielberg was off shooting Schindler's List. And so I wonder if that's a little Lucas touch of adding that in post, just a weird high pitch, jokey
Let me
squeal.
put my stamp on this movie.
Are we going to listen to it or?
We do. There's a fantastic guy who made a lot of YTM&Ds back in the day, which is this obscure website I used to be obsessed with. And his name's Keaton Munger, and he made this remix, which is amazing because it samples that squeal. Leo, if you want to take it away.
You gotta give me the time. I did a test run on this thing. It took me 20 minutes. I thought it could maybe push to 18, but you gotta give me this 15 minutes. Give me the 15 minutes. Nice hat. Nice hat. Nick, stupid. No wonder you're extinct.
Is it? Yes! You couldn't make something so good.
Oh, no, of course not.
I am amazed.
All right, thank you. Anyways, thank you, Hans. Great question. Love it. Cameron from Tallahassee, Florida says, Dear Ben and friends, my friends and I, friends everywhere, we're discussing how sometimes terrible controls can add a little bit of charm to games in certain cases. What is your favorite game with terrible controls? Shadow of the Colossus!
Yeah, see, I
don't think that has terrible controls.
I wouldn't say terrible.
Yeah, terrible's a stretch.
They're not great.
Yeah.
It's tough because like maybe I'm just too forgiving, but like after a certain point, I get used to almost any control scheme. You know,
I think with Shadow of the Colossus specifically, why I wouldn't call those terrible is like they're unconventional, and when you pick it up, it definitely takes some getting used to. But I feel like they're really well made controls for the demands of that game.
I can hear you. Okay,
Right?
what about, this is again a great game, not exactly a terrible example, but just little things like Breath of the Wild, where you're sprinting with the bottom button and then it's Y to jump, so you can't sprint into a jump unless your finger does some magic, which is always uncomfortable.
yeah, but to even that, like I kind of look at that as being sort of intentional because you need a lot of control over the sprint, and you can switch those two.
All right, give me the terrible controls. What do you got?
I think Deadly Premonition is
that's
probably
good.
high up there for me. That is just like the clunkiest third person. Well, and like driving. Oh God, driving is bad. There's so much about that game and the way you interact with it that is like clunky and frustrating, and yet somehow that becomes part of the charm of that game also.
Cork actually mentioned this the other day, which is maybe a good example because Mega Man Legacy Collection 2 just came out. On the GameCube, they had the Mega Man Collection, and the A and B buttons were just flat out wrong. Like the B button was jump, and the giant A button was shoot, and you couldn't switch them. What? Which is like ridiculous. And Cork was like, yeah, I played that, and I ran into so many pits shooting. It's like that was ridiculous. That was absurd.
You had one job.
I know.
Two buttons.
It seems like I can't. Yeah, who knows what happened there?
Wow. Okay.
Dylan says, hey, Ben and crew, with college classes starting soon, I was wondering how y'all balanced video games and school growing up. Do you have any funny moments where games got in your way? And what games did you decide to play over going to school?
Yeah, first I want to say stay in school. It's very important.
That's
don't neglect school for games.
Don't do what I did. Don't do what I did in college, which was World of Warcraft took a lot of priority.
Is that right?
Oh god, yeah.
Like 2004, you're in college. They're on that era.
2000, 2002.
Oh, you mean before World of Warcraft came out?
I mean, whenever World of Warcraft started,
2004
is when this happened. Okay, yeah.
Wait, were you in college or not? Your story's falling
Yeah,
apart.
I was at that time.
Really? How
Yeah.
old are you?
Old
Hey,
enough.
people go to college at different times.
Did you go to college late?
Old enough, my friend.
I think your story's full of holes anyway.
My story's full of what? I
Show
played
me
a
your
lot of WoW.
diploma.
Sure, I will.
Okay, thank you.
I would actually, because
God.
like when you go to college, or at least when I went to college, you would get the sort of with the syllabus at the beginning of class, and it would tell you actually how many days the professor was okay with you missing.
Yeah.
And I would actually make sure to bank those days for certain releases. Like Halo 2 was a game that I was like, I'm not coming in that day. I'm gonna go pick up at midnight. I have all these classes. I know that I have at least this many days I can take off. So that's just one sort of boring example of responsibly taking out class so I could play Halo 2.
What year were you? No.
I don't believe you.
Why
went
doesn't
to
he get the
college.
interrogation?
1997, right?
Checks out.
So for me, I actually was. I was really responsible when it came to not skipping classes.
I'm with you. I
and
hated
doing
skipping
that. So, like, I don't have any skipping classes or skipping homework for game stories. But the school game interference story that I have is that I was getting ready. I had like a trip abroad coming up for school, and it was right after Final Fantasy X had come out. So I basically like came back after like winter break and had like 5 days in my dorm room before our trip was supposed to leave.
Oh man.
So
that's
this was the
sweet.
time that I had to play Final Fantasy X, and I just did it like 10, 12 hours a day for all of these days. But it got to the point where at the end, I was like it got to the point where it's like 9 a.m. the next morning, my flight was supposed to leave, and it was like 10 p.m. and I was in the final dungeon and being like, I have to finish this. I can't leave this going while I'm like, because I wasn't bringing my game system with me. So I was like, I can't just leave this unfinished. And the result is I just went into that final fight like super under-leveled. And so like everyone talks about how easy and disappointing the final boss of FF10 is.
Yeah.
And for me, it was just brutal because I was so underleveled, and I would just keep summoning my Aeons and having them use their one attack before like the boss just like killed them immediately. And I just won that fight by the skin of my teeth, but I did it before I left.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Adam from Utah says, hello, everybody. I recently watched your memory card archaeology videos and have an idea for the show. Thank you for watching.
Oh, those are so good.
Oh, thank you so much, Joe.
People listening and watching, check out those things.
God bless you.
Those are some of my favorite things that we have on our site. Okay,
yeah,
go on.
I would love to do more with Cork. It's just a matter of time. He says, you should have GI crew members bring in their old memory cards and see what stories they tell. Maybe do it in game form, i.e. look through memory card and try and guess whose it was. Let's see what Baby Tack used to play and whatever weirdo garbage JV has on his old memory cards. Joe, you've even said this to me.
I don't think they made memory cards back in 1856. So.
I didn't. But you know what? I have modern stuff too. I bet I could find a PS1 card.
Think so?
I mean, yeah, I got to go look, but I can probably find it.
I brought this up to you once, and you shot it down.
I don't like it.
I did too.
Yeah.
And you and Cork yelled at me because I was saying as a
Screamed,
way
shrieked.
yelled at me because I was saying here's how we learn about our new employee Imran is you
Yeah.
get him to send a memory card and we learn all about Imran and you guys are like no, that's an awful idea, that defeats the whole purpose.
I love the randos. I love having no idea what to expect, and the fun is trying to piece together who this person is. Maybe it's like eventually an offshoot we could do us. I don't know. It just feels too self-indulgent when the thrill is interacting with the great unknown, you know?
I do. I like Kyle's spin on it, though, because mine was just have staff members bring it in. But, like, you know, we've all worked together for years and years at this point. I think I do like the idea of a new hire. Like, what do we find out about this new guy?
Yeah,
I think it's a good idea,
drop
too.
off all this stuff. Maybe. If you're not familiar, the idea was we bought random used memory cards at used stores and pawn shops and stuff, and then put it in and then loaded up their old saves and tried to figure out what type of person they were. It turns out they're pretty revealing. We got last names and hometowns, and yeah, it was crazy.
In Japan, Hanson and I looked at used memory cards, and we really strongly considered trying to buy some, but we were like, well, first of all, we don't know if we're not going to have the Japanese games.
Yeah.
We also don't know how to ask if these have been erased before they go on sale.
Right.
But that would have been cool. The idea of like a foreign memory card would have been.
Yeah, absolutely. Tyler from Greenwood, Indiana says, hello, Game Informer crew. If everyone in the office were a Dragon Ball Z character, what character would they be and why?
These questions.
We've talked about this.
No.
Yeah, no, I mean,
there's no way it hasn't come up
there's
before.
fan art of some of, or maybe it was in a replay, not on the podcast. There's fan art of several of us, like, as DBZ characters.
No, that was us coming up with our own characters. I have a couple of ideas here. Hanson.
Kyle, why did you have that list
Hanson
ready to
has
go?
Hanson has a
I didn't
list.
share these questions ahead
No,
of time.
this is a list that I update and carry with me.
Oh,
All right.
great. Okay.
No questions. Fly through it. Let's
All
go.
right, let's see. Andy is Goku.
Wow.
Reiner is Yamcha because he's a cool dude that likes baseball. Bert is Chi-Chi because he secretly keeps everyone in check and wants all of us to learn.
He's never as mad as Chi-Chi gets, though.
That's true. Joe is Krillin because Krillin doesn't have any hair.
Makes sense.
Miller is Old Kai because he is the keeper of the lore.
Huh.
Okay.
Brian Shea is Yajirobe. Dan.
Hang on. Whoa. Why
I'm so-
Yajirobe?
Just because he just seems like a good fit. You're Yajirobe.
What's Yajirobe?
He's a big fat idiot with a sword.
Okay.
Dan is your Android 17 because you're a robot. Imran is Tarble because he's really important, but we don't see him in person. Really,
Who's Tarble?
it's Vegeta's brother.
What?
Exactly.
Where is this?
You
He
never see him.
never shows up. There was like a one TV special that's never been translated. Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. So that's and so Kim is Android 18 because she has blonde hair, but there's another reason as well. It's because
Soulless.
she secretly gets along really well with Joe / Krillin. It's a secret.
Oh, they make android babies in the show, Joe. So watch out.
Jeff
No
Cork,
android babies from this guy.
Jeff Cork is the Ox King because he's the
Yeah.
office dad.
Yep. That's
Kano
perfect.
can either be Piccolo or Tien because he is cool and collected, but can step up and kick ass
I like
when
Piccolo.
he needs to. You like Piccolo?
Yeah.
Hey, will people please tweet at me whether or not Kyle is insulting me by calling me Krillin?
Here,
Krillin's dying
Krillin's pretty solid.
immediately. But he's an important character.
Krillin is the strongest human in the show, far and away.
Wait, he's not even awesome like the other guys?
No.
It's cute
Oh,
because
no.
They're not all human.
But he's the
so-
most powerful human, I think. In
I
the
think
world.
he has my favorite
universe,
death
rather.
in Dragon Ball Z history, though, where Frieza just picks him up with his finger and then explodes him. Just blows him up. Fuck you, Kyle.
So
I
Ben,
at least want to die in a crater like Reiner.
that poor Reiner. Ben Reeves is King Kai because he's got all the jokes, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of struggled with Ben Reeves.
That's offensive.
Jeff Mark Yufava is Master Roshi because he's just a huge pervert, and he can also grow gigantic muscles whenever he wants, but he just rarely ever does it.
What about my argument that he has the exact same posture as Kid Buu that I've been screaming about for 6 years?
Yeah, special mention. He's also Kid Buu.
Okay.
Elise, this is kind of a complicated one. Elise, and I don't even know if I'm saying the name right, is Caulifla. Because
that's a Pokemon.
Because it's a weird thing because Elise sits on the other side of the office, so I don't interact with her a whole lot. I feel like I don't know Elise very well.
Really?
But I think that she's badass, but I don't know yet.
Who is Caulifla?
Caulifla is in Dragon Ball Super.
Oh.
She's a female Super Saiyan. She's the first female Super Saiyan.
She's... What?
All right.
Where's the saying coming from?
Ben,
I don't know.
It is not easy to match up a list of people with another random list of people.
It's
What would
not.
you know about that,
Yeah.
Joe?
It's a
Anyway,
challenge.
JV is Mr. Satan because it makes me laugh.
Correct.
Cyril is Trunks because he's quietly very competitive.
Okay.
Ben Hansen, you're Bulma because you handle all the technology, and I don't want to make you mad. I'm always scared. of
Oh,
making
that's
you
nice.
angry.
Okay.
Yeah. And Leo Vader is Whis because he is way cooler than he lets on.
That's some other super stuff.
Yeah. And then finally, I'm Vegeta
oh,
because
Lord.
my wife has a
Jesus
huge, weird
Christ.
crush
Yeah.
on Vegeta, and I would feel weird making anybody else Vegeta.
I wrote the list, so I get to be Vegeta. That's how that one
That's
works.
the worst reason I've ever heard. You're the least Vegeta man
No,
I've ever heard in my
absolutely.
life. I'm very confused about your
Should've
wife's
made yourself-
sexuality.
you know.
Ultimately, I am the opposite of Vegeta.
Yes, in every possible way.
Yeah.
I just watched that clip last night of when Vegeta sees Trunks go Super Saiyan for the first time in the Rolling Time Chamber, and then he's like, "Try and punch me in my face. I'll take you to the park." And Joe, so he's like training with his kid. And he's like, starts to be like, "Hey, is this kid actually strong?" So he's like, "Go ahead and try and punch me, kid." And the kid, it's like he's throwing punches left and right, and then he just nicks the side of Vegeta's face just in this little sparring round, and Vegeta just reflexively is like, boom, and just punches him back as hard as he can in the face because he didn't expect to get hit. And his reflex
Punches his child.
is just to beat the out of his kid. It's a
And he's
bizarre
upset,
scene.
and then Vegeta's like, I'll take you to the park like I promised.
Right.
Which, by the way, they may or may not make good on in Dragon Ball Super.
That sounds amazing. Joe recently, for fans of dumb matchups, he took the 45 Chrono Cross characters, the best cast in any gaming release of all time.
Certainly one of the biggest.
It's bizarre, and matched it up with the 45 U.S. presidents in a very entertaining way that you can probably
Very good. I
Google
like it a
easily.
lot. By the way, please text me your list of editors who are Dragon Ball
God.
characters. I want to
And
hear what
which
else is
Dragon
good.
Ball characters died peacefully.
There we go.
And please tell Kyle that I'm someone cooler than Krillin, but I'm not sure who.
Please tell Kyle he's definitely not, Vegeta. So
What do you think that the dumbest thing Krillin's ever done is, Kyle?
Sat in on this
he
podcast.
voluntarily shaves his head. That's kind of weird, right?
I do
that. Yeah, he does that. That's not... He's just kind of a little wiener dweeb that's always around, but like a good, loyal friend.
Yeah.
Okay,
Really though,
maybe
secretly,
maybe I am Krillin.
secretly,
then.
like he is super strong. Like he is the strongest human. He is.
yeah, but there's
gotta be.
There's
Who's the
not
stronger
that many
human?
other humans.
Yeah,
Master Roshi isn't strong
That's
enough?
like singing
No.
the praises of like the strongest ant you've ever met. Is like you're still,
Yeah, but it's
they're
like
still
a-
getting crushed.
Ants can like lift 8 times their own body weight or whatever.
not what I heard.
That's relative coolness. No thanks.
Relative.
Dear GI Podcast, says Billy from Gloucester, Virginia. He says, first off, I'm sorry, that's not that person. This is Kenny. Says, Dear GI Podcast, first off, I would like to say I'm glad Ben Hansen and Kyle enjoyed your visit to Game Freak. I was able to meet Masuda and Amori, all that stuff. He's wondering what we think about Ultra Sun and Moon coming out, if we got any insight into that game.
Do we have?
He's wondering if they're taking it seriously or if it's just going to be a cheap cash-in.
Hard to say. I don't know.
Yeah.
We didn't really get a lot of Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon stuff.
We
in
technically
general.
saw it running, and there's a video going up on Friday
Yeah.
with it, but it's just a feature within the game. So I still am confused. I mean, we were so focused on going through the history, we didn't try and dig too much into like, what is this? Because they're going to be revealing more info soon. So.
I mean, to be a sort of pessimist about it, I don't think it's going to be a crazy reimagining of Sun and Moon or anything.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be not even a continuation of that, just the same approach as Crystal and Yellow, I think.
Yeah.
But
I don't know anything about it, and I think it's a cheap
Okay.
cash in.
That's really fair.
I mean, like, have any of these just sort of like expanded ones been anything more than that?
Pokemon Black and White 2
Black
is
and White
interesting
2.
because it's like a continuation of the story.
But it's called Black and White 2.
Yeah,
like that. Like
it's a
that's a
sequel.
full-fledged sequel. That's not this. This is
We
just-
don't know. They said a new storyline within the world, so we don't know.
we don't. Yeah,
That sounds like a new side quest somewhere.
Yeah.
It could. Yeah, like maybe you see another angle in the story or something. I don't know.
Anyways, next question. Billy from Gloucester, Virginia now writes in and says, Ben, I dare you to sit in one of the other chairs through the email segment. That's a hell of a dare.
That's the easiest dare I've ever heard.
Maybe some have already succeeded. I crap on you not, you guys. Dominic Sitchaki then writes in from Chicago and says, hey, Ben, since you mentioned you guys take dares on the show, I dare you specifically to sit on the opposite side of where you normally sit for the next episode.
Wait, both of those came in?
Yes.
These are the dares.
Those are the dares.
Come on, you guys really need to up your dare game.
Yeah.
I will eat some weird stuff, man.
I'll eat something no human should ingest.
Dan tax butt. Anyways, what do you guys like?
Actually,
for,
not eating dares. I really don't want to do those.
email of the week. What do you guys like?
Gosh,
Star Wars.
I like Dragon Ball because it gave me homework. That was fun.
There was a lot of homework.
Yeah, I think I think the Dragon Ball one's good.
Dragon Ball's good.
All right.
I like the games we never finished. That was an interesting question. Games we love but never finished.
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on what. Do you want to go with like an email that was really a serious sort of game-focused one?
Yeah.
with some insight, or one that's just like an excuse for Kyle to
This
go to
is
the Dragon Ball
to
Z
call Dan a
Wikipedia.
robot.
Who do you want to
that was
reward?
really
What
nice of
direction
you.
do you want to send the emails? Into a more game-focused or more zany? It's your call, Joe.
Boy.
You're now the host.
Well, Kyle made me Krillin, and I'm not so sure I'm happy with that. So
Yeah.
let's go with the other one.
There we go. Billy from New Jersey. We'll send you out something real nice, but thank you everybody that wrote into podcast@gameformer.com. For now, stay tuned. The show's not over. We have a wonderful batch of interns for the audience to meet and for us to say goodbye to as well, and also get some fun back in the box. So stay tuned for that. And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. I'm still here. We have a whole new batch of wonderful outgoing interns. We have Doug DeLong. Welcome, sir.
Hey, thank you.
We have Craig Taylor.
Hello.
The name that sounds familiar to everybody, but this is the only Craig Taylor that matters.
Yes.
Hell of a beard, too, if you're watching the video version.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's a Brillo pad on your face.
Yeah, it's kind of irritating sometimes, but you got to treat it. He's got food in it all the time.
All the time.
That's not true.
Oh, come on, guys. You're tearing each other apart. We also have Jared Console.
Yeah.
Your last name is seriously Console?
It's literally Console.
At what point, how old were you when you realized that's amazing? What a coincidence that I happen to love video games on consoles.
March 28th in 1999. I was 4 years old, and I just learned to speak.
Right.
And that was when I learned the word console. And I was like, oh my God, that's me.
You just shouted it at your parents?
The spelling is brutal, though.
Yeah. No, I changed it to make it harder for people because that's the good talking point. It's not good if it's just like, I can't pronounce your name.
That's true. So you guys have been here for how long now?
3 months. 3 months.
3 months. Has it flown by? Has it dragged by? What's it been like? Tell me a story about your internship term.
Well, I remember at the beginning, we would always be like, oh, we just need to sit back because everyone says it goes so fast and like enjoy it. And then that was like yesterday. And now we're here.
You know, I don't understand. People always say that about vacations, about making love to a beautiful person. Like, hey, just sit back and enjoy it, right? I don't know what that means. How do you do it? How do you absorb a moment more? Do you ever do that when you're on vacation? You're like, I need to absorb this. And then you just sit there and it turns out time goes just as quickly as it always does. And that's about it.
I think the key, if you're on vacation or in this internship, if you try to soak it in, then you're not going to enjoy it. It's if you make the most of it, that's when it flies by the fastest.
Interesting. Do you guys feel like you've made the most of it?
No. I didn't do anything while I was here.
What did you guys do? What feature are you most proud of?
Oh, man. They were all so good. I got to do a lot of stuff with music, like performances by characters in video games.
We talked about it on the Game Informer show itself.
That's me. I was the one who did that.
There we go.
Yeah, wow. It's like I'm famous. And then I did one like soundtracks, and it's just fun to work with music because I'm really into that. So I enjoyed those.
Are you a composer yourself?
Oh, I mean, like a little bit.
You want to prove it? There's a microphone in front of you right there.
Oh, I didn't say singing. I brought my guitar or something, some other instrument, my euphonium, because I play euphonium.
What is that?
You don't know what a euphonium is?
Never.
It's a baritone.
Right, so yeah, it's like, okay, so you know the tuba, like you
familiar.
It's like a smaller tuba.
Yeah.
You like Control T, take it down. Yeah, that's what it is.
Euphonium?
Euphonium.
It's like a fancy name. It's like, isn't there like a fancy name for like a tuba too? Or am I wrong?
Are you thinking sousaphone?
Yeah.
When I think euphonium, I imagine like, you know, those little keyboards that like you blow into, like you're like you're getting a breathalyzer. Yeah. That's what I imagine a euphonium looks
I've never
like
been breathalyzed before.
Okay, so music, that's your specialty.
Yeah, music. Yeah, that's me.
Hey, Craig, what are you proud of?
I did one that was sort of hard to explain. It was about Marvel vs. Capcom, and there was a mod that came out for it, and sort of just about like that community and a question of whether or not, because it was a mod to sort of make a new version of the game. It's like an unofficial patch, which I think are interesting.
For 3?
For 3, yeah.
Okay.
And there's a lot of stuff going on right now with like Marvel Infinite. A lot of people aren't really feeling it. And so I thought it was an interesting story for like the time being. And so that was cool.
What's that one called so people can look it up?
It's called, oh God.
Pop quiz.
The Marvelous something.
Oh, Marvelous Devotion, Project Marvel. Leo, can you put like in the description like a link to it, and then like on YouTube like a big annotation across the screen that like links to the story?
No.
All right. Well,
that sounds good.
Yeah, and then I also recently did like a list that was fun. It was Dragon Ball Fighters, about like characters you want to see, which was fun for me.
What was the deepest cut in that roster?
Deepest cut. See, here's the thing. I wanted to like. I think a lot of like those lists are like, look how much I know that you don't. Here's this deep cut you probably don't know, but I know.
Right.
I really wanted to avoid that and make it more about like characters that I thought would be fun to play and make sense, because the game's like a serious fighter, which like Dragon Ball hasn't really ever had.
Well, Arc Systems Works has made a Dragon Ball fighter before.
Really?
Yeah, they made one on 3DS called Extreme Budoden.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't played that. But I mean,
no one has.
Yeah, it looked awesome. I remember seeing like trailers for it, but I don't have a DS, or any kind of 3DS, so
gotcha.
I've never played it. But that kind of people talk about like Budokai a lot, and that's sort of like the gold standard when it comes to like serious sort of competent fighters, and even then, that's pretty shallow compared to something like Street Fighter or Tekken,
for sure.
And so it was really exciting to like. It seems like how have they not thought of this before? 3v3 like Marvel versus style.
Why do you think they chose 3? Just because Marvel vs. Capcom?
Yeah, they say a lot of stuff like, oh, you know, because people can make their dream teams and stuff. But I don't know. It sort of does present like it's another thread with that Marvel thing to go back to that of like the more competition, I think, for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
Hang on, but what's your secret? You say that people try and go for the deep cut to brag about how much they know about Dragon Ball, but you think it's fighters that are fun to play. So who's on that list then? It's super fun to play in theory.
I mean, the big obvious one is Broly. That was like my first entry because like that's what everybody asked for. I think he'd be a really great grappler. Why are you laughing?
This is funny. Everyone knows Broly would be a great grappler.
Everyone.
Broly is the legendary Super Saiyan that came down in one of the movies and they fought and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I meant I think everybody wants him in the game.
Yeah.
Not everyone's saying that he's going to be a grappler.
Why do people like Broly so much?
He's like, his character design is like so badass.
It's just another
pure
Saiyan.
Badass.
It's just a huge Saiyan.
Yeah, he's gigantic. He's awesome.
It's like if Goku was a little more muscular, that's basically Broly.
I've noticed a lot of Broly hate coming out now, and I don't appreciate it.
Right now.
Like right now, yeah. Everyone's like, Broly sucks. Broly's not that good. I'm
Broly
like,
does
come
suck.
on.
I mean, there's cooler characters out there. I know it's cliched, but Frieza alone is 1,000 times more interesting and cool than Broly.
Broly only had like 3 movies.
Yeah.
And really only 1 movie.
Okay, so Broly's on your list. Who else is up there?
Deep Cuts, Peel-Off Machine, I think would be interesting.
Peel-Off Machine?
Yeah.
Help me out.
So, you know Emperor Peel-Off?
Yeah.
He usually in Dragon Ball video games, he's represented as like a machine because like it'd be kind of weird to play as Emperor Peel-Off because he can't really do anything.
Right.
And so I sort of said like, sort of like a Pokemon trainer kind of thing, where like there's like 3 parts, Mai and Shu are like different parts, then they can combine and, you know, sort of hypothetical. So not to give the whole list away, but that was really fun to sort of construct that because I really like fighting games and I really like Dragon Ball. So
yeah, apparently. Awesome. Hey, Doug.
Yeah.
What are you most proud of? If you had to send a link to everybody listening to this podcast, what link would that be?
Well, I only did really hard-hitting stuff.
I understand.
So one that was really fun to write was a list about poop.
Infamous.
Yes. I did the top 10 crappiest video game characters and just took it as a pun and just wrote about the 10 best poop related characters.
Now, where did
in
you
games.
conceive of this idea?
So we were looking at some of the lists that Reeves had done.
Oh no.
They were
his
bad.
absurd like trees list and all that stuff.
And we were like,
Horses.
we want to do something ridiculous. And so
Uh-huh.
I was sitting in the bathroom and
Naturally.
was like, wait, what about crappy characters?
And who's at the top of that list?
Duke Nukem.
Okay.
People did
Controversial
Not, people
pick.
did not like that at all.
People were really upset.
Wait a
about
minute, so that's
bringing
just-
politics into my poop.
Wait, so that's just like a play off his name, but then the rest were actual like living pieces of crap?
Yeah.
It's a lot more nuanced than you think.
I understand.
It's not that like moronic. So
Doug, you're not that moronic.
Yeah.
Just like kind of.
Thank you.
well, I mean, you know what I mean.
Doug's an Ivy League student. Everyone.
Oh, yeah. I
That's
do.
right.
Yeah, that's the irony of it.
That's beautiful. We have questions from some community members, people on Twitter and stuff. If you guys are ready. Hugo H. Pereira. Help me out, Jared. What does that say? Pereira asks an interesting question. What's it like being a newbie in a tight group of people that has so much banter and history together? Are they comfortable to crack jokes to or with? What is that like?
I mean, at the beginning, it's kind of tough because you can tell like there's friendships and they're pre-existing and they've been there, like they've been together for a long time. But they're really open. I was surprised that like they'll ask you to go to lunch, they'll ask you to hang out. Like we went and played some board games with Hanson,
Several times.
and he lost every time.
I think I won most of those games at Avalon. To be fair.
I lost every game, every single one.
Yeah, I think. I lost my train of thought. No, I think what surprised me is like one how nice everyone was, and what's great is I've worked at like a magazine before, and like everyone there is nice, but you don't really no one there really probably plays video games, and if they do, they're not really interested in it, and so it's really like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, they're not in too deep.
Yeah.
And the fact that everyone in this office, you have a conversation to, you have a talking point, is that they all love video games.
Right,
and
right.
It's really crazy that, if you're watching some kind of weird like anime thing on your computer, that's not weird here. Because like everybody probably has that like.
We're all watching the weirdest anime.
I don't
stuff
mean like that.
imaginable. No, I do. Sir.
Okay. Well,
No, it is nice to have that. Just like if you're in the kitchen getting a cup of coffee, somebody else walks in. There's always a backup conversation.
Yeah.
Normally, like in public society, I call it the outside world. It's, boy, sunny again today, huh? Right? But in this office, it's like, oh, what have you been playing recently? And then it's a 40-minute Destiny conversation that you can't tear yourself away
Are
from.
we talking to Andy?
Yeah, in
that
theory,
hypothetical,
I guess Andy or Miller.
Yeah.
Doug, what'd you think about this office? And by the way, it's time to be brutally honest. I don't know if you guys have done your outgoing interviews yet, but this is basically it. So if you have any any scoops here.
No, one of the things we talked about that was really interesting and kind of weird is like having a relationship with the Game Informer office through replay and the podcast and stuff. Like I've been a big fan for years. And so coming in, it felt like I sort of knew all you guys already, which was weird. And so having conversations with people, sometimes you'd hear about stories that I've heard before already. And then you're like, oh yeah, cool story.
and you want to say that you were like a part of that.
We're so boring. Or no, it's just like
it's weird because you don't
it's
like
weird
you weren't
because
there.
you've heard this before and you weren't there kind of thing.
Yeah. I could totally see that. Well, if you're a fan of Game Informer's content, this isn't a pop quiz or anything, and now you know basically what the office is like, what would you recommend we do more in the future? Knowing like our capabilities in the office, the manpower, what we're, our interests and everything, is there a direction you'd like to see Game Informer's content go in the future?
I don't know, honestly.
Give us a vision statement, please.
Yeah, I can't think of anything right now.
You should do more videos.
Just do more videos,
all the time.
What the hell? Why aren't there videos on
I think you should
GameInformer.com?
be in every video, just like your face, just like some close-ups.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Jared, what a hero. Truly the people we asked for. Let's see. William, Junior Gamer 42 on Twitter, is wondering, ask them, that's you guys, if you have a favorite underappreciated game that you wish you'd been able to convince the GI staff to play.
Oh my God.
What is this?
So I grew up playing RuneScape. And like,
oh, that's right.
Holy shit. No one even knows what that is here.
All right. Explain why we're super out of touch and what the hell RuneScape is. It's a name. It's like Craig Taylor. We've all heard it, but we don't have anything specific to assign to it.
So RuneScape is an MMORPG. It's like a World of Warcraft.
Slow down,
Brainiac.
Brainiac.
Yeah, I know. That stands for massive multiplayer online. And so it's basically something in the same vein as Guild Wars or World of Warcraft. And I don't know. I started playing it in like 2004, and they keep revamping it.
So it came out before World of Warcraft, then?
Yeah, it came out 2001.
Does it look like Ultima Online? Does it look like the isometric piece of shit?
I mean, like the graphics aren't great. Like they've been getting better as they improve it, but it's like a lot about the grind and the levels, and they keep updating it. And I don't really know. I started playing it with my cousins all those years ago, and I always pick it back up, and I was like, yeah, like I played that. That was a big part of my childhood. I'll go talk to them about it. We all talk about RuneScape. No. I was like, yeah, did you ever are you into RuneScape? They're like, yeah, no, I don't really know what that is. I'm like, what? You don't know what that is?
I'm sure somebody in the office has played it. Have you bugged everybody about it?
I've tried to bug everyone.
Leo Vader in the booth, apparently, is RuneScape fan number one. Leo?
Big fan. Great game.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Do you think it's just like an age thing? Like we don't have people young enough in the office to have really gotten into RuneScape?
Probably.
I in my mind, RuneScape, and I know this is blasphemous, it feels like MapleStory or something where it's like Phenomenon, huge, Club Penguin. I'm sure it's huge. Just no one has ever tried dabbling with it.
Yeah, I think it's a lot about like when I grew up. Because like Leo, you're a similar age.
Thank you.
By the way, do you want to be my friend on RuneScape, Leo?
I'll think about it.
Okay. As most people say when I ask them that.
That's a good pitch.
But yeah, it's just like I think I hit like right in that age group with like Club Penguin and MapleStory and stuff. Like it all came around at the same time, I think.
And you think it's a well-designed game, or it's just like it got there early and then got the ball rolling?
I think it's well designed. I think they've been making improvements too. I just watched a documentary about it, and like they go through like its first iteration. Now they're on like the third one.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like it. I get made fun of by this idiot who doesn't know anything.
Which one's that for the audio listeners? Oh, that's Craig.
That is Craig. Okay. I forget his name.
Well, you can give Craig crap because turns out he is #1 Kinect defender in the entire universe. He says every game that has the capability to play with Kinect is better for playing with Kinect.
Listen. Okay, so that is probably my game, I guess, for this question. When we were playing Avalon, me and JV were about to square off because of Kinect. I am not a staunch Kinect defender.
Show your tattoo.
Yeah.
Dirty dog.
But there are a handful of games that are significantly better. Like Skyrim is way better with the Kinect.
Just because you can yell Fusro Da awkwardly at your TV?
Because what percentage of your Skyrim playing time do you think is spent in menus?
I'm sure it's a fair amount.
Yeah, and that cuts that down like enormously.
How? Why? What are you doing?
Because you could just say you want, I'm not sure on the specifics, but I think I'm like at least exactly which menu it is, but you could probably say like show me one-handed or something
probably
similar
you could
to that.
Probably do something.
I know it's some sort of command like that, and then you go right to that menu and you can get you get right to it. Whatever you want to say.
Really? So there's no downside. It's never like, what do you mean? You're in the middle of a dragon fight and it thinks you're trying to bring up this map or something.
And there's a hotkey menu, which for some reason isn't in the game on console, at least, just like standard, you have to have a Kinect to use the hotkey menu. That's kind of weird.
All right, interesting defense.
Or like, I think there's also like custom slots to say use 1 or something like that, and then that'll use whatever slot that is. So stuff like that.
But Star Wars Kinect, Craig, come on.
No, I'm not talking about Kinect games. I think motion. It's mainly just the voice stuff that I think is interesting.
Really, are you a guy like Kyle Hilliard, a deviant like that, where you walk into your house and you say, "Hello, Xbox, time to turn on. I'm ready to play with you."
I do. It's nice when you have like a plate of food,
yeah,
and you're watching something on Netflix, and then it's like, I want to flick from my controller, just like Xbox Play, and it starts playing. And it sounds extremely lazy.
No, this is
but it helps a lot.
Craig is the same person who says he buys digital games exclusively now because he doesn't want to get up and change the disc in his
I understand
Xbox.
it. I understand it.
Yeah, I'll more than likely play a game if I don't have to get off my ass to change this.
I'm amazed he's in here, really.
Yeah,
Usually
it's really
he gets here and just sits there the
He's
whole
Skyping
day.
in from his bathtub, actually, if you can figure it out from the audio listening. Doug, does one stand out for you that you really wanted to convince GI to check out?
Or I'd say just looking at some of those Flash games, that was something we talked about a lot while we were here.
Interesting.
Is that when we first arrived and we're talking about games from our childhood, all of us had a common history with these Flash games that we'd played on like addictinggames.com or Cool Math and stuff like that.
What's the best Flash game, do you think?
I'd have to give it to Agar.
What is
There's
Agar?
a game
Oh, man.
that you just go to the URL agar.io, AGAR, and you have this ball, and it's like a multiplayer lobby with like 100 people. It's basically Battlegrounds.
It's very similar to Battlegrounds, actually.
What?
2D
Agar.
Battlegrounds.
So it's like you're just a circle on a 2D plane, and you move around eating other circles and getting bigger, and then you try to eat other players, and it's just, I don't know if it's fun, but
Apparently it is.
It's very relaxing.
There's a lot of risk reward because it's like you go slower whenever you're bigger, and so it's like, should I go after this little guy who's not going to give me that much energy and like split off, because you can split off and
you split your matter into like 2 pieces, and so they're smaller, so you move faster. But then if one of those behemoths comes in, you're done.
Did you guys ever end up covering Flash games or playing them in any capacity?
Oh, we did, actually.
Oh, really?
We've recorded a bonus episode of Replay that should be coming out next week, I believe.
I'll be damned. And it's all just Flash games?
All just Flash games.
That actually sounds really cool. I'm glad you guys finally did that. That's amazing. Leo helped out with that too, right?
Leo was the best.
God bless you,
Couldn't do it
Leo.
without Leo.
God bless you.
Leo, is it fair to say Leo's the most liked person in the office?
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
I think that is where things are trending, Leo, just so you know.
Good to know.
It's your ball to drop, dude. Well, forget the past, you guys. Let's look towards modern consoles with a little round of back-of-the-box trivia. Jared is dreading this. He's dreading it so much.
I've been sweating this all week.
Why are you so worried about this?
Since I got the internship, I was like, oh, God. I was like, yeah. Oh, wait, I have to play back-of-the-box trivia.
He told me that.
Yeah, I was the same way, where when I was researching this internship to see, if I would take it, I looked at the podcast with the other interns on it, and they were playing that, and I was like, man, if I somehow get selected for this, I'm gonna be so bad at this. And here I am. So this is a very weird fate sort of thing.
So we're trying to narrow it down for you guys to make it a little bit easier for the intern batch. Look, this isn't going to be an easy round if you're listening, but the catch with this is that it's all modern consoles. We're not diving into the past. I'm not going to bring up some NES game that no one remembers because you guys were too busy playing RuneScape, the Targaryen, and all that nonsense. So you guys ready? This is only current gen systems. Now, the rules of back-of-the-box trivia. I believe we're playing first to 5 points. You only get one guess. You buzz in by saying your name and your name alone, right? If 2 other people guess and you haven't guessed yet, you are legally obligated by the good Lord himself to lean back in your chair, but not too far away from your mic, put your hands behind your head and say, I could get used to this, while I read the rest of the clue, and then you get one guess. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Craig, can you do it?
Hell yeah.
All right, here we go. Turns out box descriptions have gotten considerably worse. Like the current gen box descriptions are really not great. They're all vague and it's all one sentence.
They're all online now.
Yeah, it's really terrible, isn't it? All right, here we go. How far will you go? Chart your own course in a dangerous new galaxy. As the blank, you will unravel the mysteries of the blank galaxy. Craig.
Mass Effect Andromeda.
There we go. Craig on the board. Nicely done. How's everybody else doing? Jared, you having a panic attack?
I'm holding it in.
Okay, great. Here we go. Hunt together. Kill alone.
Craig. Evolve.
Craig at 2 with the ball from
Remember
Turtle
that time Craig was like, "Yeah, I was gonna be so bad at this." That was a lie.
Please take him down. Please take him down. Hunt the truth. An unstoppable force threatens the galaxy, and blank is Craig.
Halo 5.
Oh my God! This is a slaughter.
I'm just used to these really like crappy taglines.
What do you mean used to them? Have you studied them?
He does.
I think he did.
Did you study this ahead of time?
All these stupid advertisements I get because I don't have like YouTube Red or anything or ad block on my PC, so I just get like bombarded.
So
with
there's
find
a
the
ton
truth.
of Halo 5.
Yeah.
Hunt the truth. Soldier. All right, ready for this one, Hotshot? And I mean that in general to the three of you, not just Craig. Answer the call. The shadow of blank rises over the ashes of blank. Craft your survival. Defend the legend.
These are so vague. It's gonna be anything.
This is needlessly vague. Also, I'll say, I love this game.
Doug.
Answer the call is the worst opening line. Doug.
Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
There we go, Doug.
That's Doug's game. I think that's what Doug played
I've
most
read
of
the
this
back
summer.
of that box twice. Now that I think about it.
Answer the call. Like the call of the wild? Is that what they're going for?
Something.
Or is it like the Sheikah Lake is kind of like a phone?
Yeah, it looks just like a phone.
Isn't that the name of the Lady Ghostbusters movie? What the hell are they doing over there? All right. Relive the galaxy's greatest adventure. You know the one. Blank battles. Take aim in exciting new blank combat. High-speed dogfights. Blast off in blanks, blanks, and more. Multi-builds system. Find multiple unique ways to solve puzzles.
Craig. Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Craig!
Wow.
Killing it!
I was like, I saw it like the stuff you started in the beginning. I was like, that's probably Star Wars. And you said build. I was like,
jeez. Hey, Jared, I don't want to make you get too up in your head, but that's a big goose egg on your board right now. Wow. You can do it, man. All right, this is your game. I know it. You never stop talking about this one. If there was a back of the RuneScape box, it would be as memorable for you as this. Your universe awaits. Embark on an epic voyage to the blank of a boundless universe. Jared.
No Man's Sky.
Jared, there we go. I didn't even lean over and show you the answer. That's amazing you got that, man. All right, ready? Face off with anyone, anytime, anywhere. Jared. Wait, what? Oh, wait. Damn it, Craig. I'm sorry, Jared. I did hear you buzz in. This is a new wrinkle in back of the bike. No, I won't do that. Okay, face off with Craig.
1-2 switch.
Craig takes it. 1-2 switch. That is an annihilation. Craig's at 5, Doug's at 1, Jared's at 1. Holy Lord. Jared, you don't need to feel bad because you're playing against apparently the back of the box master.
No, he doesn't stop reading back of the boxes. I don't know if he plays the games as much as just reads the boxes.
What is this? All right, well,
I can't afford any of the games, so I just go to GameStop and put the back of the box.
Wow, this will look great.
All right, this is extracurricular at this point. You ready?
Okay.
All right, so pressure's off. Set the world on fire. Over 400 square miles of complete freedom from sky to seabed. A huge arsenal of weaponry, gadgets, and vehicles. Unleash chaos in the most creative.
Doug. Just Cause 3.
There we go, Doug. Nah, you're getting up there. Fight as a soldier. Lead as a general. Rise as a legend. Includes exclusive multiplayer map because it's a day one edition. Xbox brings the brutal intensity of close quarters combat to life in visceral detail. Step into a breathtaking recreation of the Roman Empire. Craig.
Rise.
There we go. I did say Rise.
That game.
All right, here we go. 4 mega hits. Additional features include Remix Challenge Mode, Blank History Museum, and online leaderboards.
I feel like we wrote a news for this, like a press release that said something exactly like this.
4 mega hits.
Jared. Is this the Master Chief Collection?
Incorrect. Oh, good guess, though. Remix Challenge Mode, Blank History Museum, and online leaderboards.
I feel like History Museum would be like Namco something.
We should
4 mega hits.
Oh, Doug.
Doug.
Mega Man Legacy Collection.
Incorrect.
Craig?
Yes.
Mega Man Legacy Collection 2.
There we go. The 4 is the key.
I'm sorry,
that was tough. That was tough.
You didn't do the thing. He broke the rule.
Oh, you're right.
You don't get that point.
We're going to have to cut the mic. We're going to have to cut the mic. There's another way around it. All right. Inspiring worlds, beloved characters, unforgettable fun. Rediscover 30 hit games.
Craig.
With blank. Craig.
Rare replay.
There we go. Rare replay. That was a cool thing, wasn't it?
I know.
The game, based on the movie, based on the game.
What the hell?
Blank is a reimagination of the original Blank, developed alongside the animated picture coming to theaters in 2016.
Doug. Ratchet and Clank.
There we go. Good call, man.
I was thinking Tron. That's sort of something
interesting.
that went like back and forth.
I don't think there was a current gen Tron game though. Huh? They made a
Yeah,
VR
there
one.
was. There was one on 360.
360, yeah.
Which is
Reclaim Your Throne. Out on the road with his closest friends.
Doug.
Doug.
Final Fantasy 15.
There we go.
Ooh.
Doug, you're slaying now. What the hell is this? Survivors Keep Moving. Oh, I remember. Survivors Keep Moving. Blank is a riveting VR space adventure set on a hostile alien planet. On a mission to pick up scientists studying an anomaly near Jupiter, a sudden rupture nearby sends you and their station crashing into an unknown alien world.
I want to say No Man's Sky again, but I don't think
I don't think that's correct.
Yeah.
You know, survivors keep moving. That classic catchphrase and tagline.
Yeah, of course.
Remember, like a couple months ago, when everybody kept talking about it, like you couldn't walk on the sidewalk without someone stopping you. You'd be like, "Survivors keep moving, right?" And then you high five.
Yeah.
That's Farpoint VR, everybody.
Oh.
Farpoint. All right, Make History. A game that GameSpot calls gorgeous. Game Informer apparently called it a massive playground.
That's something Ben Reeves would say.
Yeah, I think it was followed up by, but the type that you get bullied horrendously on. And Forbes says, truly next gen. For centuries, Blank has been ruled by the privileged few. No longer. On this day, the people of Blank have risen up against tyranny. Now in the midst of one of the most chaotic and brutal revolutions. Jared.
Dishonored 2.
Incorrect.
Doug, Assassin's Creed Unity.
There we go. Doug! Just annihilating. All right, here we go.
Are these all like structured the same? Like where it's the tagline and the text, or did you put the tagline first deliberately?
I think it's always tagline first.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
he's mad now because he's losing to Doug.
No, I'm just wondering. That's kind of incredible how they're all like written exactly the same.
It is. It's bizarre. It's this generation. There's a template for sure.
Huh.
This one starts with a quote from Hardcore Gamer, so you know it's hardcore. Hardcore Gamer says, "A masterfully executed rhythm game that breathes new life into the genre." Come on, Jared. Actually, this is more of a Craig thing.
I really want to say Parappa the Rapper.
Incorrect.
I don't actually want to say that. I just want Jeff Cork to
It's
hear me say
incorrect that you even want to say that. What's the story there?
So when I was doing that first feature, I didn't really know Cork that well, or Reeves, and I was talking to him, and I was like, yeah, and I want to do in-game performances by characters, and I was like, but not something stupid like Parappa the Rapper, and both of them were just like... I was like, I mean, never mind. And he was like, how dare you insult Parappa the Rapper?
Cork loves Parappa more than his own children.
Yeah.
You really made a mistake.
I think he should name his kids Parappa.
I
don't know why he didn't
I'd like
do
to
that.
buzz in.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to guess Fantasia. Music Evolved.
There we go. Remember when music evolved with Fantasia?
Yeah.
talking
That's why I
about
was in because it was a Connect thing.
That's right.
Jesus.
Very shrewd. All right, here we go. Tagline is, time is power. Craig.
Quantum Break.
Amazing. Okay, what about this hot shot? Discover the world's next best game, or create it yourself. Play the epic tale of Champion's Quest. That sounds so lame. Where a tiny but powerful Blank recruits an army of champions to confront an ancient world-devouring virus that threatens to destroy the universe. Wait, is it world-devouring or universe-devouring? Anyways, create your own exciting story in minutes by making simple choices through play or experience an endless number of games created by a global community. Unleash your imagination to create anything you want, or join your friends online to craft your own masterpiece. Where players create and creators play.
It just sounds like Mario Maker, like a really
like Little
fancy
Big Planet.
Yeah.
Nope. Think about it. The code name was Project Dakota. I remember that.
Project Dakota.
Dakota Fanning.
The answer is Dakota Fanning. Project Spark, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh,
Project
I didn't know that had a
Spark.
story because I was gonna guess that like some sort of creation thing was probably Project Spark.
How could you forget about Champion's Quest? One of my favorite stories of this generation. Well, that's it for Back of the Box. Craig, amazing work, sir. You really nailed it. Let's see. The Intern podcast has a simple question. What do you guys plan on doing after the internship in terms of work or school? What's the road ahead looking like for you guys?
Let's start with Doug this time.
Hey, Dougie.
How many times have we been asked this question today?
8.
This is the only time that counts, though, because it's being recorded. Doug, what do you got?
I've got 2 more years of school left.
School at
Columbia University.
Oh, quit bragging. All right, we get it. We get it.
So yeah, I'm a computer science major there now.
Oh, right on.
Gonna go back there and maybe do some freelance stuff on the side.
Cool. Are you dead set on the world of computer science then for your future?
Not sure. Still feeling everything out.
You got 2 years. That's what it's for.
Yep.
Awesome. Craig, what about you, man?
I just graduated from Duquesne University.
All right, quit bragging. All right, we
in
get it.
like 2017 or something.
Uh-huh.
I graduated in multi-platform journalism, and so now I'm in the job hunt. One of the best things about this internship, I think, if you're thinking about it, it's not even necessarily the work and the experience that comes from the work, but the relationships and hearing from people who've actually like made it. And one big thing is sort of like a guide to freelancing and being that, initially you probably want like a side job or something to supplement while you get your feet wet with freelancing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm trying to find a job that can pay my student debt and my car payments and also, start freelancing and stuff like that. So I'm coming out of the gate hot. So
you heard it here first.
Yeah.
He's coming out of the gate here
hitting the ground running.
That's awesome, man. Jared, what do you got?
Nothing as good as that.
Okay, what does your future look like? What would you like to do? Has this internship changed the course, do you think, of your future at all?
Yeah, actually, so I'm going back to Auburn University for one more semester because originally I was like engineering or something, and then I was pre-vet until like a few months ago.
Oh wow!
And so like technically I'm still pre-vet. I think they give me scholarships, so I'm not going to say that I'm not.
Okay.
Jared wears a surprising number of hats.
I'm very confused. Engineering and pre-vet.
And biology and stuff
I kept switching that one, and the whole time I was also a media studies major.
Ooh, okay.
So that's where this comes in.
Yeah,
That's what you did.
Yeah, for sure. Good memory.
So I think I'm just going to get like a portfolio together this last semester with some visual media classes and creative writing, doing some poetry and things to make me a more well-rounded individual or something like that.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah,
You're fine.
It's something like that. But so after that, I'll join Craig in the freelancing or job search world.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
What temperature are you going to come out of the gate?
I'm thinking like a lukewarm, like 73 degrees.
That's what we like to hear, 73 degrees. Amazing work, all three of you. Thank you so much for your service to Game Informer throughout the term. We appreciate it. One of the best batches. People kept whispering it. Where you can't say that publicly too much because we'll discredit all other interns, but everyone was whispering one of the best. So hats off to you guys. Good job.
Thank you.
Anything else you're dying to say?
No. I was going to ask what reader trackbacks are, but we found that out today. Because
It's a deep cut.
Yeah, quick explanation.
Yeah.
In the back end of Game Informer, there's like a bunch of stuff we have to do before we publish it. It's kind of a mess. But one of the things we always have to do is turn off trackbacks. And we asked Jeff and Ben about that, and they didn't really give us a concrete answer. And I always thought it was some sort of ancient, like, evil thing.
I assume it is,
That's basically what it is. That was the answer we got today.
What was it?
Should we say publicly?
It's just a weird thing in the back end. Like if it's on, it
the whole
breaks
website
the
kind of goes
website.
down.
Yeah. So,
Like
Every time
that's what Andy said. That's from Andy's mouth.
Yeah.
Oh my God, is that true?
Even I think the magazines just start deteriorating. So like if you turn that on, like the physical copies.
Yeah, Back to the
are gone.
Futuring in people's
Yeah,
hands as they're trying to read about Call of Duty World War II. No! That is about as deep of a cut as you can get for Game 4, but thank you so much. And thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of the show. Be sure to tune in next Thursday, and we'll have a new episode waiting for you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Got a big show.
Do I
today.
have pizza stuff in my teeth I didn't normally check?
Miller, there's a full slice of pizza in your mouth.
They actually can't see your teeth usually unless they really dial in.
Dial in.
They have
By
to-
that he means look at a monitor.
They have to zoom in. People don't watch the show like Maximize, man. I keep it in like another window.
Yeah.
I hope
No
so.
one-
I
no one
pity the
does that.
people who watch this full screen.
Oh, Miller's doing his catchphrase. I pity the people that watch this full screen.
He said it.
Oh, Miller.
Remember Anakin? Remember there was no mom or no dad.
Mm-hmm.
Just like no dad.
That's
Shmi.
that
Don't
was
forget
pretty
about Shmi.
lame. The idea of like, oh, and then it was the miraculous birth.
Conception.
Yeah.
It's
The
the
whole-
whole
the
Jesus
whole-
thing.
Yeah, like
Well, Immaculate Conception refers to Mary's birth. Keep that in mind.
yeah. Shut up.
Fun Bible trivia.
Fun.
I don't know how that works. I just heard that as a factoid once and said, oh, I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
It's actually Frankenstein's Immaculate Conception.